Hey everyone, welcome to RCV Academy. Today we are introducing another course on Jira Roadmap. Now Jira Roadmap is a very important feature within Jira software that you can utilize to successfully deliver and track the progress of the project within the team or across multiple teams within the portfolio. Jira Roadmap comes in different flavors, Jira Basic Roadmap and Jira Advanced Roadmap. And as part of this training, I'll be covering from the Jira Basic Roadmap and then we'll be going through to the Advanced Roadmap and how you can use Advanced Roadmap at the enterprise level to manage work across multiple teams and successfully deliver the work and track the work and how it progresses. Jira Roadmap provides a lot of good functionalities and features which will be absolutely helpful for the work within your teams and across multiple teams. So we'll get all those details in this particular course and training. So let's get started. My name is Manish Verma and I am certified Jira project administrator and I have been using Jira for more than 8 years now. So let's go ahead and see what are the course contents that I'll be covering as part of this course. So in terms of course contents, we'll be starting from the introduction. What exactly is Jira Roadmap? Why is it used for and how you can use it? So we'll start from very basic introduction so that even if you're not aware of anything about Jira Roadmap, you will be able to know what exactly it is and how you can use it. We'll then start with the Jira Basic Roadmap, which is very important to get a hold of Jira Roadmap, what features are available in the Basic Roadmap and how you can use Basic Roadmap to plan the work at the team level and deliver it successfully and see what are the bottlenecks in case you are a scrum master on any of the project and you want to use roadmap. It will be really helpful for you to track the progress of the work and see how things are progressing overall and where the bottlenecks or the blockers are using the dependencies, etc. So we'll start with basic roadmap and cover everything that is required for you to manage the team level work with the basic roadmap. Then we'll go ahead with the advanced roadmap and we'll understand how you can use advanced roadmap to plan at a multi-team level or at the portfolio level where you have multiple teams working toward a particular goal or project. So we'll understand all of that in the advanced roadmap section. Now let's go ahead and see what exactly is Jira Roadmap. So Jira Roadmaps help in long-term planning and we know that long-term planning is very challenging in the project. So when you are planning for 3 to 6 months down the line, it becomes really challenging to see how the work is progressing in those 3 months or what needs to be done. So basically at the high level, you know what work needs to be done, but then how you plan it and then manage the dependencies, how the work is being progressed within those 3 to 6 months, it becomes really challenging if you are just managing your task within the spreadsheet or not having a tool that helps you to visualize all of that at one place. And Jira Roadmap is the tool that will help you to visualize all of that long-term planning that you need to do for your team or project or at the portfolio level very easily, and will show you all the details visually within Jira itself, right? So that's what a high-level Jira Roadmap is all about. It helps you to achieve long-term planning or help you in long-term planning of the project. There are two types, as I have discussed in the previous slide as well, the Jira Basic Roadmap and Advanced Roadmap. Now Basic Roadmap comes with the free version of Jira Cloud as well. So basically Jira Cloud, when you sign up, it's free for up to 10 users and there are certain conditions there, and Jira Basic Roadmap is also available or part of it. Now Basic Roadmap are at the team level. So when a team creates a project themselves, they can enable a roadmap, basic roadmap, and use it for the team level tracking or the large piece of work within the team. Say for example, there is a team A who wants to deliver a project or a piece of work that spans for 3 to 6 months. They can use the basic roadmap to deliver that piece of work and manage that piece of work within the team using the basic roadmap. Now moving to the advanced roadmap. Advanced roadmap helps you to achieve or plan and track work across across multiple teams and multiple projects. So advanced roadmap is available as part of the premium subscription in Jira Cloud. So you have to be a premium customer of Jira Cloud to get access to the advanced roadmap. But advanced roadmap provides a lot of advanced features, or the features which will help you to track the long-term planning across multiple teams and projects. So if you are a big enterprise, obviously you will be having the paid instance or paid version of the Jira Cloud. So you'll be getting the Jira Advanced Roadmap as well, and we'll cover how you can use Jira Advanced Roadmap to plan at the portfolio level and plan for multiple teams and projects. So this is brief about the Jira Roadmap introduction. Now let's go ahead to the Jira website quickly and see some of the comparison between the Jira Basic Roadmap and Jira Advanced Roadmap. So this is the Atlassian website, and we know that we are here in the Jira software, and here we'll see that within Jira software you will have this roadmaps available, right? So if you see the website here, so roadmaps keep your teams an organization in sync with road mapping software built to help you release more predictably and stay on target to achieve your goals, right? So if you see this particular screen here, this is how the roadmap screen will look like, and we'll understand all of it in the upcoming tutorial. How you will plan, how you will see the overall progress, and how the dependencies are, all of that will be covered. If you scroll a little bit down here, you will see the differences between the basic and advanced roadmap that I have discussed. So if you want to check the differences in the basic, what all level that you see, it's basically at the team's progress. Advanced is more of a company-wide initiatives that you can track at the advanced level. Then you can track at the big picture, so you can see the differences in the basic and advanced. So advanced roadmap allows you to making or planning across the multiple teams. Basic is only for a single team. Similarly, dependencies, if you'll see that basic, you can visualize dependencies within your team, right? But in advanced, you can visualize dependencies across the teams and projects. So that's the basic difference. And there are few features which are only available in the advanced roadmap. So for example, if you want to plan with the team capacity in the mind, right? So say for example, you are planning at the sprint level or sprint, how much capacity is there for your sprint, and then how much planning or how many points you have allocated for that sprint. So that visual details will be available with the advanced roadmap only. Then moving on, you can envision different what if scenarios as well. So best case, worst case. So all of these are available in the advanced roadmap, which is very helpful for the enterprise level planning. So you can read more details here, but these are some of the key features of the basic roadmap and the advanced roadmap, and how the advanced roadmap will help you to do the enterprise level planning, and basic roadmap is more of a team level. So if you're a small team, basic roadmap will be absolutely perfect for you. So you do not need to go ahead for the advanced roadmap if you're a very small team. If you are an enterprise and you want to track across multiple projects and multiple teams, you need to go for advanced roadmap so that you can get the full power of roadmap and use it for the successful delivery and management of the long-term planning and delivery of your project. Project creation in the Jira Cloud free version, which is free for up to 10 users, and then how you can enable Jira Roadmap within your projects if it is not enabled by default. So we'll be creating different sort of projects with using Scrum template and Kanban template, and see how you can utilize roadmaps in those particular projects and the very basic aspects of the basic roadmaps in Jira. So let's get started. So to create the project, as I have already explained in the Jira Cloud tutorial, you can go ahead and watch it. That's a full tutorial on the Jira Cloud version. But creating a project is pretty simple. So I'm on this Jira Cloud version. I'll go to the projects drop down and I can click on create project, right? So simply click on create. And because we are working on the software development, so just select the template software development, and we'll create a Scrum project first. Okay, so I'll use this Scrum template, and if you'll see, it will give you a lot of information about this particular template, what issue types will be by default available if you choose this template, what will be the workflow, etc. So that's all provided. So I'll click on use template, and then you have these two types of projects. So team managed and company managed. So team managed projects are the projects which are specific to a particular particular team within your organization. So teams can manage, they can manage the workflow, simplified configuration, and if you see the details, you will see what all team managed projects provide you. Okay, and then in the company managed projects or company managed setup, you will see that it is maintained by the Jira admins. Okay, so if you do not want to go ahead with the company managed project, you are a small team and you want just the full-fledged control within your team, you go ahead with the team managed project, but there are some limitations in that. Okay, so these are some of the features that you will get in the company managed. You can get advanced features like advanced roadmap, which is premium only. In team managed, you will only get basic roadmaps. Okay, so these are some of the key things you need to remember. So let's first go ahead and create a team managed project first. Okay, so I will name this project as Roadmap A, and I'll say team managed, so we can basically easily recognize these projects, right? So Roadmap A, which is team managed, and then the template chosen is Scrum, and this is team managed project, and I'll simply click on create project. So once the project has been created, this is team managed project. You do not need to do anything at all in the team managed project to enable the roadmap. You will see the roadmap is already available here. Okay, so if you click on roadmap, it will give you the roadmap view for this particular team managed project. And you will see that you are in the team managed project. This message will be displayed at the bottom, so that shows that you are in the team managed project. So this is how team managed project will be created and the roadmap in the team managed project. Okay, so I'll cover the details of the roadmap in few minutes, but before that, let's go ahead with other type of projects. Okay, so I'll create few more projects. So I'll say company managed project. Basically, I'll say Scrum, the template, and this time I'll say company managed. Okay, and I will say roadmap project B, and this is company managed. All right, and then create project. So these are two projects using Scrum template. Now software development teams also use Kanban, so let's create two of those projects as well. So I'm in the company managed, and you will see the roadmap is also available by default in the company managed project. Okay, so you'll see the roadmap. If you click on the roadmap, it will open the roadmap for the company managed project, and you'll see you are in the company managed project. Okay, let's create the Kanban projects as well. I'll say Kanban and team managed. So for the Kanban project, you will see the roadmap is available for that as well. And let's create another one, which is the company managed Kanban project. Kanban, use template, and this time I'll say company managed, provide the name, roadmap B, Kanban, and this time it is a company. So the key gets selected automatically. You will see if you want to change, you can change it here. Okay, create using the default key that has been created. And this is our Kanban project, which is the company managed, right? So roadmap is basically now available by default in any sort of project that you are creating within Jira Cloud. So previously this was not getting available for some of the projects which were company managed projects. So in case you are struggling to see this particular roadmap, okay, so what exactly you have to do is you can go to the board. Say for example, you are in the company managed project. So previously in the company managed projects, it was not getting available. Okay, the roadmap. So go to the Kanban board. In the right hand side, click on ellipsis, go to board settings. Okay, and in the board settings, you will see that enable the roadmap, right? So this in the settings, you will see the roadmap. So most probably if this particular roadmap is not available or not visible on any of your project, you simply have to, most probably it is turned off. Okay, so you just have to basically turn it on, and then you will see the roadmap will be available. So now what we have done here is we have created 4 type of projects. So basically company managed Kanban, team managed Kanban, company managed Scrum project, and team managed Scrum project. Okay, now let's go ahead one by one and see what all features are available in the roadmap. Okay, so if I go to the roadmap, which is roadmap A, team managed project, okay, the overall layout in all sort of projects for the roadmap will be absolutely similar. There is no difference. So if this is the team managed project, I'll go to the roadmap, and in the roadmap interface, that's where the big picture or the high level planning starts for a particular project. If you are using a team managed, so in this particular team managed project, what this means means is there is a particular team that wants to deliver the piece of item or the work item that they are trying to build within the team, and the dependency to the other team is very minimal, and that sort of piece of work can be delivered by the project team itself, and that's where the team managed projects are really helpful. Okay, but if it is a project which requires multiple teams to engage and work together, that's where you need to go ahead with the company managed projects and go ahead with the advanced roadmap. So in the roadmap, what you will see is, if we talk about the interface here, you will see that you can create the epics directly in the roadmap. And if you'll see this timeline here, right, so you have this weeks, months and quarters, right? So you will see, if I simply move this here, okay, so I can change it to weeks or months or to quarters, right? So in terms of planning, I can simply say see what all planning we will be doing. So we'll be creating the epics and then planning accordingly our work. But this is how the roadmap will look like in Jira Cloud. And you will see under the settings, if I go to the settings, there are different settings that are available. So which epics you want to, display, all, complete or incomplete, and then dependencies and progress you want to display. So you can do those settings as well. And then if I click on today, so it will basically target the timeline to the today's day. Okay, so if I'll simply change it to weeks, you will see that it is basically resetting it to the today's day. Okay, then I can export this roadmap, which will cover how to export the roadmap in future tutorials. I can share this roadmap after creating it. So we'll cover all of it in detail in the upcoming tutorial. In the status category, if you'll see that, you will see different status category: to do, in progress and done. You can filter all of that. You can search, filter issues from the roadmap directly. Okay, now this is a brief about how to create different sort of projects, and this was important because I want to cover all different sort of possibilities in the roadmap and how you can utilize different projects or the roadmaps within different projects to plan your work, whether it's a team managed or the company managed project, and make sure the work progresses properly and you are able to track that particular work within the project or within multiple projects easily using the Jira Roadmaps. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I'll start covering the roadmaps in detail, but overall you will see that this is how the roadmaps will look like, and it doesn't matter which project you are, whether it's Kanban or Scrum, the roadmap screen and the overall functionality will be almost similar in each sort of project, right? So this is the Kanban project, which is the company managed. You will see exactly same way you can plan your work within roadmap or using roadmap. How you can start using roadmap, or how you can create the first roadmap within any of your Scrum or Kanban project in Jira. So let's get started. So previously we have already created the projects. So team managed project, one of them was Kanban, one of them was using Scrum template, and then we had this company managed projects for Kanban and Scrum, right? Now most of the software development teams use Scrum, so I'll be taking example of the Scrum, but Kanban or any other team managed or company managed project would be very identical to what I'll be explaining in this particular tutorial. So there won't be much difference as such in the overall planning using the roadmap. Okay, so let's pick basically company managed Scrum project, and here, as we have already understood, that in case you are not having this roadmap available for you, you can basically go to the board. So basically active sprints, to the ellipses, board settings, and most probably it might be turned off, right? So in the roadmap you can just enable this, turn it on in the settings. Okay, so then you will be having this roadmap. So by default roadmap will be visible as soon as you will create the new project. Now how to create your first roadmap? So basically nothing special about the creation of the roadmap, it's already there. We just have to start populating our piece of work that we want to get done as part of that particular project, right? Now this is the company managed project. So say for example, I'll take an example of the work item. Say for example, I want to develop a website and there are certain work items that needs to be covered, and I have assigned that project or work to a particular team. So what they'll do is they'll start creating the epic. So epic, if you see in Jira, is the higher level of the work item or the big piece of work item that needs to be broken down into smaller pieces and then achieved, right? So To give you an example of the epic, I'll open some of the sample epics. So say for example, this portal registration, right? So I have a courses website, and on the course website, I want to have the registration functionality to be available for the users. So I want to have the portal registration functionality. So portal registration will have then multiple work items, which is nothing but the user stories or task or defects. So there can be a number of work items below it. So portal registration is a big piece of work that can have multiple stories or a number of stories. Similarly, course catalog is another epic. So epic is a big piece of work that can span multiple sprints or even a couple of months. So this is what epic will be when you are going to create the epics in Jira, right? So we'll simply copy this portal registration epic. We'll go to the roadmap and we'll create the first epic there, right? So just paste it here, hit enter, and that epic will get created, and you'll see that number automatically has been appended with 1. This is the project key for this particular project, right? And then let me quickly create the other epic as well. Okay, so course catalog, and hit enter. Right, now these are 2 big pieces of work items that need to be completed as part of this project. So there will be many other work items as well. Now below these big pieces of work item, there will be stories. So if we go to this particular sheet here, you will see that as a buyer, I would like to register using Google account so that I can log into e-commerce portal successfully. Similarly with Facebook, Twitter. So these can be some of the sample stories. Now this is just a information or the story or epic information that I have created just to explain how you can populate the information when you are working in the actual project using the roadmap and plan the overall work within your team using roadmap. So this is how you will start from the epic, and then you will start populating the stories and other items below these epics. Okay, so let me copy one of the story and go to the portal registration, and to create a child issue, if you'll simply highlight or hover over, you will see this plus icon there, right? I'll click on that plus and paste the story there, right? So, and here to change it to the type, right? So this is by default the story, but you can have a task or bug as well. Okay, so by default, when you are starting the planning or the roadmap, you will have the epic and the stories and tasks. When the stories are being built by the development team, the testing team will be testing those and they'll be finding the defects. Then they'll link it back to the epic, and those defects will then be visible on the roadmap as well once they are linked to the epics. Okay, so similarly, as we have created the epic, we'll simply copy and paste the description there, and the story has been created. Now this is the basic information that goes into the epic and story. If you'll open this particular story, let me open this, it doesn't have all the relevant information that needs to go in the story, right? So that needs to be populated later. For example, description, acceptance criteria, and everything as per the definition of done or definition of ready for your particular project, right? But by default, we have the high level requirement, and as a product owner or product manager, you are planning the overall piece of work, right? You are planning the overall piece of work within your project. So for that, you will have the high level of epics, and then stories, high level epic, stories below the high level epics, and that's how you will plan the overall work. So this is what you will keep doing, and once you are done with the basic level of planning, that is what your roadmap will be, and that's how it will be available for you. Okay, so let me quickly add all of those stories below these 2 epics, and this is what we'll continue using for our roadmaps tutorial in future. So let me quickly complete that. Similarly, for the course catalog, I'll click on plus, add the stories there. Right, so now as part of this particular roadmap, this is roadmap B for say for example, there is a team that is doing this particular piece of work. This is what they'll be creating. So they'll have epics, they'll have stories below it, they can have the task below it as well. Say for example, as part of this portal registration, there is certain tasks that need to be completed, a technical task, right? That's not specifically a business requirement, but in order to fulfill a business requirement, a technical task need to be achieved. So you can create a task below it, right? So you'll say it's a technical task. So this is how you will simply keep ahead and adding the issues or the work items below these epics. Okay. Now once these epics are ready or the work items are being ready, if you'll click on this, say for example, now how we can basically plan this work, right? So as of now, the roadmap doesn't show any of the timeline. So if you'll simply see, go to weeks view or months view or quarters view, we haven't specified any of the timeline as such. So we have created the epic and the work items below that, and then we can also filter based on the status category or the type, right? So if I just want to see the stories and not the task, I can filter it from here. I can clear the filters, and then I can also do the quick filter or filter the issues. In the settings, there are different options that you can go ahead and check, right? I can share this particular roadmap as well. But the key thing to do in the roadmap is basically after you are planning your work, you have entered the work in your Jira roadmap. The key thing is to plan the delivery date. Basically, what's the start date of this particular story? What's the end date? So how we can do it? So simply click on this, say for example, portal registration epic, and here you should get a start date field somewhere. So assignee reporter priority epic. Okay. So if the field is not visible here, most probably it is not configured. So you can configure the field to be visible here. Okay. So you have the story points and components, etc., but the start date is not visible. So what you can do is either I can go to the issue view. So if you simply go to the issue detail view, right? So I'll go here and the start date should be available here somewhere. Okay. It's not here as well. So what we'll do is let's configure it, right? So we can simply click on this here. We'll say configure this here. We'll click on configure. So here you will see that this is the issue screen, right? Scrum default issue screen. So in order to make any changes, we'll go to the Scrum issue screen, and there I can add certain fields that are not visible to me. Okay. So let's find start date. So we'll say start typing the start date, and we'll simply add the start date. Okay. And similarly, you can add any other fields that you see that are not visible. Okay. So I've added the start date on this particular issue screen. So now if I go back, all right, and go to the roadmap, refresh this page, go to the epic again, and you'll see the start date is available now, right? So now as part of the planning, when I am planning to start this particular epic, so that's what the start date is all about. So say for example, I am planning to start this particular epic from 8th of September. I'll select that and just click anywhere else to save the value, right? So that's the start date of this particular epic, and you'll see that the epic details have been populated accordingly, and because there is no due date that has been set, so it is showing as no due date, right? So start date has been populated and is visible on the roadmap. Similarly, we can go to the other work items. So say for example, for this particular story, the start date should be 9, right? So you will simply go ahead and do these changes, and that's how you will go ahead and start the planning of the work items. So you'll do the start date, end date, and if say for example you want to change the start date and end date, you can directly go to the issue details, or you can just drag and drop, right? So I can just drag and drop, and the details will be updated accordingly for the epic, right? You'll see now the details have been updated. Now the end date of this particular epic is 4th of 11, right? So similarly, let me go to the next epic and I'll update the start date, right? So I will simply update the start date for the next epic. Say for example, will be next week, let's say 15th of, all right. I can update the priority for these. So I can say for example, this is medium and then portal registration is high. So I can change the priority of the portal registration one to the highest. Okay. So this is something which needs to be completed first, and that's how I can update the priority. Now to update the end date, I can simply drag and drop this timeline on the roadmap, and the details will be updated accordingly in these particular epics. Okay. So to update the start and end date for these work items that are there, you simply have to do the same thing. So say for example, this particular user story, click on the user story and update the start date for the user stories as per the plan that you are going to follow to achieve these work items. All right. So this is very brief introduction about how you can create the roadmap. First thing, how you can start using the roadmap, how you create the epics, then how you create the work items below that, and start using the roadmap feature. Basically update the start date and then update the end date accordingly as per the work item and the planning that you have done within your project. Updating the start date for each of these work items within these epics is very important to make sure that the start and end date of these work items align to the start and end date to the epic, right? So this is a brief about this particular tutorial about the dependencies and how you can manage dependencies within Jira Roadmap among the epics or any issues within Jira. So dependency management is very important and it gives you a better perspective in terms of when a particular issue is finishing and whether that particular issue is dependent on some other issue or the other issue is basically dependent on this particular issue. So when we have this visual representation or visual outlook of the dependencies among the issues in the project, it gives a better picture on how you are going to manage your work within the project. So let's quickly go ahead and understand how you can do the dependency management. So these were the two epics that I have added in previous tutorials. So let me quickly add few more so that it's easier for us to understand about the dependency management. So I've added the online classes. Say for example, this is another feature, high level feature or epic that needs to be added, the community, and we need to take payments from the students as well, right? So say for example, these are some of the features that need to be developed as part of the online training website. Okay. So now in order to manage dependencies within Jira Roadmap, which is the basic version, you will have certain limitations in the basic and the pro version of the Jira Roadmap. So in the basic, I'll explain you what all options will be available and how you can manage dependencies. So if you say, for example, now these two are already scheduled and planned, right? So that's why you see these lines here. The timeline on the chart here on the board here, but the other ones, they haven't been scheduled, right? So in order to schedule those, I'll simply select one of that and you just need to add a start date. Okay, so just say for example, I'll add a start date for this issue as 6th of October and then just save it and you will see that the issue has been scheduled, and because I haven't selected any due date, it is not showing any due date, right? Similarly for the community, so I can simply, you know, if you just hover over the line there as well, it will show you the display basically on the timeline. If you just click, then it will create that particular or auto populate the timeline. So usually it takes like 30 days and then you can extend this forward and backward. So similarly for this one. Now let's get ahead with the dependency. So in the dependency management, you need to understand two key things: incoming dependency and outgoing dependency. So when we say incoming dependency, it is basically when the issue is blocked by some other issue, and outgoing dependency when a particular issue blocks the other issue, right? Say for example, this portal registration needs to finish before course catalog can start, right? So in this case, portal registration is blocking the course catalog. So to create that dependency, we'll simply hover over this particular epic and just drag and drop from the portal registration to the course catalog. Okay, and you have to hover over at the outgoing part of that issue, whichever is blocking. So at the end of the timeline of the portal registration. So if I go and see the details, you will see that portal registration is blocking course catalog, right? So this dependency is the outgoing dependency for the portal registration, right? So because portal registration is blocking course catalog, and if you talk about course catalog, in the course catalog, this is the incoming or is blocked by, and course catalog is blocked by. So one issue blocks and other is blocked by, right? So these two, incoming and outgoing dependency. So outgoing for the portal registration is the outgoing, this is the outgoing dependency, and course catalog, this is the incoming dependency, right? As the arrow clearly shows. So if say for example, now let me put some end date to this online classes as well. So now I just drag and drop, and you'll see that wherever I dropped, the auto populated date has been updated. Okay, and I can save the detail as well. So let me save it. And now for this one, say for example, online classes is being blocked by course catalog. Okay, so I'll simply drag the incoming dependency for the online classes and drop at the outgoing, right? So now we know that course catalog is blocking the online classes, and now you will see that you are getting clear picture, right? So you get the clear picture that when you seek the dependency, that dates are overlapping, and you have to rearrange your plan so that these dependencies are managed properly. So what you will do is, as part of the planning, you will make sure that you give certain buffer. Once the issue is being finished, then the other dependent issue starts, right? Similarly, we will move this to the other side. Okay, and now you will see that the alert or warning basically goes away, right? So this is how we are going to plan or manage the dependencies among the epic level. And this is Jira basic roadmap. In the advanced roadmap, we will understand a lot more detail. So this is how you will manage dependencies on the Jira roadmap within the epics. Okay, so this is epic to epic dependency, high level. Now there will be, or there might be, requirement that you need to manage the dependency among the issues as well, right? So these are some of the stories within the epic, right? So these stories could be dependent on each other. Now in the Jira basic roadmap, what you can do is to manage dependencies among these. I'll simply highlight a particular issue. So for example, this number 7 issue is blocking number 8. So we'll highlight, and then you will see let me minimize it, and we'll go to the more fields, or you'll simply click on this link issue, right, icon, and click on the link issue. And here you will see that this particular, say for example, 7 is blocking 8. So you can say 7, because we are on the 7, blocks which issue? We just search for the issue that this 7 issue blocks, right? So we'll search for RBCM and search for 8 and link this. So this dependency is being managed among these issues. So whenever somebody is looking at a particular issue, they know that there is an issue that needs to be done. So this needs to be completed before 8 can start, right? So this is how you will manage dependencies among the issues, and this is general, this is common across the Jira, and it will be basically done in any sort of project. This is how you manage the dependency or link the issues. You link the issues, and then you manage the incoming and outgoing dependency accordingly among the issues. But at the epic level, it is pretty easy to manage the dependencies. You just have to basically drag and drop the incoming and outgoing dependency the way you want to. So now say for example, there is a dependency from more than one issues are dependent, right? So you can also do that, right? So say for example, these 2 issues can only start when course catalog can finish, right? So I can have the dependency for both the issues defined. Okay, so I can then arrange accordingly. So now I know these 2 issues are being dependent, or these 2 epics are dependent on the course catalog to be finished. Only then these 2 can start. Okay, so this is the way basically how you'll go ahead and keep doing it and refining your plan and making sure that your plan or roadmap is up to date and the timelines are aligned, and ensure that the dependencies are not doing sort of, or there is no sort of a overlap, and making sure that your work will progress as planned and finish as per the plan that you are defining here. So it becomes pretty easy when you define dependencies to manage the work and see when a particular work needs to finish and when can other piece of work can start. So that's all about the dependency management in Jira Roadmap. This is the basic version. I'll cover more about dependency management in the Jira Pro version or Jira Roadmap Pro version. Some of the more important features within Jira Basic Roadmap, how you can share the roadmap and how you can export it and share it across the team. Okay, so one very important thing in the Jira Basic Roadmap is about the epic colors, right? So basically at the moment, if you see, all of these colors are same. So it's good if we have a different color coding for these epics, right? So say for example, I want to change the color for this one, simply select it, and from the catalog here. So basically from the icon, just click on it and these are the available colors. So we'll choose some different colors so that you can easily and your team can easily identify the different issues or different epics and the color combination based on that. Okay, so let me finish it and then we will. Okay, so now if you see, we have different colors for the epic. So this is quickly about the color coding and combination or changing the colors, right? Then moving it across, changing the timeline, it's pretty easy. If you have the dependency and there is a epic which moves basically ahead of, or you want to start that ahead of the issue that gets finished. So because there is a dependency of this epic on the previous one, you will see that this dependency detail will change to red. Right, so you have to make sure that your dependencies are managed properly by dragging these work items accordingly on the timeline. Okay, so that's about the changing the color and moving or updating the dependencies accordingly. Now in the view settings, you can check and uncheck the dependency. So if you uncheck the dependency, the arrows will go away. You can check and uncheck the progress, right? So it will basically, so here if you see, if a progress is checked, you will see the progress of the statuses or the issues that are happening within this particular epic. If say for example there are 5 epics or 5 issues below that, half of them are complete, you will see the color coding of this progress bar happens accordingly. Okay, and then in the refine view, you have epic display option. So you have, either you can choose either complete, all, or incomplete. So depending, if I say complete, there are no epics that are completed, so it won't display anything, right? So I'll choose to all. This is some of the filter options. Then in order to share this whole roadmap, you have this share button, right? So click on share and you can specify the name, right, or team or email, right? So say for example, I have a teams created in Jira, so I can specifically select the team or individual users, or I can specify the email directly. Okay, so say for example, this is the user that I want to share the details to, or this particular, so I can keep entering the name and then the names will appear, and then I can basically go ahead and send. I can specify the message, or I can copy the link and share the link with the team. If they have access to Jira, they'll be able to see this particular roadmap. Okay, this is about the sharing. Then exporting is another very good feature that I found, because in the projects we have this wall, right? So the project wall as such, where everyone wants to see, or the visual representation. So not every time people will be opening the Jira or having a look at it, right? So when you export this whole roadmap as an image and put it at the project wall, at a project space in your organization, then everyone has a clear picture of what all epics we are working towards, and then which epics are basically dependent on which one, and how we are progressing overall in terms of the progress. So the project team or the higher level stakeholders can directly come and discuss across the board by using this particular image. Okay, so you can export this, print it out, and then have it on the project board at your project space within the organization. Okay, so this is another good feature of exporting this overall roadmap. Okay, then you have the week view, month view, and quarters view. So we are in the quarters view. You can change it to month view or the weeks view, which will give you more granular picture of the work item and how the dependencies are and how the work will progress, right? So this is sort of a brief about the basic roadmap. There is not much. It is still a very strong feature as such for the team. Within the team, if you want to have the team level roadmap being defined and manage the work just within the team, basic roadmap is good enough. But when you go across the team at the portfolio level, when you have multiple teams, you have to either rely on the pro version of Jira, wherein I'll cover the pro version, and you will get the Jira advanced roadmap, which will cover a lot of more features there, and or you have to rely on some of the apps, which I'll also cover. There are very good apps available, which I'll cover in coming tutorial. about the Jira Advanced Roadmap and how you can enable Jira Advanced Roadmap. So till now we have been looking into the Jira Basic Roadmap, which is part of the free trial or free version of Jira, which is free for up to 10 users. And we have been working with Jira Cloud. Now to enable Jira Roadmap, which is Advanced Roadmap, you have to get the premium version of Jira or enroll for the premium version. So let's go ahead and see how you can enable premium version and get access to Jira Advanced Roadmap. So once you're logged in as an administrator, go to the settings and go to the billing section. In the billing section, you will get the option to change your billing. And please make sure if you're changing the billing, there are options to basically subscribe to the higher version and then move it back to the lower version or free version. So here on this page, you go to the manage subscriptions, and in the manage subscription, you will see that these are the products that I am subscribed to, and both of them are free, right? Because I'm just, using 2 of the 10 users, and both of the products are free up to 10 users. So I'm on the free plan. Now I do not have access to the Jira Roadmap Premium, then I have to change my billing, right? So on this page, what you need to do is just click on this change, right? So on the Jira software, there's free plan. I want to change it, and you will get different options here, right? So you have the free plan, and you will see what all options are available in the free plan, in the standard plan, okay, and in the premium plan. So if you go to the Advanced Roadmap is not part of the free or standard plan, okay? It is only part of the premium. So we will, in order to learn it, we will go ahead and select the premium plan, okay, and we'll see what all options are present. So you will see that premium is available. There is a trial that we can use, and the trial is available until 4th of November. Okay, so I have to be really quick to complete this whole series on Jira Roadmap. So because until 4th of November, I have to basically ensure that we move back to the free version. So if you're an organization want to get the premium version, then this is what you need to basically do. And you will see that there is no cost premium trial, so you won't be charged anything, okay, and you won't have to pay anything until November 4. All right, then what happens is you do not have to add any payment details as well. So in case after 4th of November you want to keep using this premium, then you have to add the payment details to keep using premium. Otherwise you can change back to the free version. Okay, so if you don't add the premium, if you don't want, prior to that you just switch to the premium to the free version. So I'll just say agree to the terms and service and privacy policy, go through these and click on upgrade. So now this version of Jira will be, you will see that this is now in the free trial and this is the premium plan. Okay, the plan has been changed. It is that quick, and you will see that it is free until November 4. So once your subscription has been upgraded to the premium plan, you will be having access to the Jira Advanced Roadmap. Okay, now if we go to the roadmap now, okay, you will see this plans tab appear, and this is basically what the Advanced Roadmap option will look like. So you can use the Advanced Roadmap to see the work of multiple teams and projects, right? So usually in this particular roadmap, this was team specific, which is part of the free version, which is basic. But if you want to use the Advanced Roadmap, which is more of a multiple teams and multiple projects that you can track using the Advanced Roadmap, you can see that from this plans. So from the plans, you can view the shared teams, you can view all plans, you can create plan, you can do some of the settings. Okay, so let's see if we go to the view shared teams, what all options are being displayed. Okay, so there are no shared teams as of now that haven't been created, but you can go ahead and create the teams there. And if we go to the plans, let's see what all plans are available that we can access in the Advanced Roadmap. Okay, so a plan is a roadmap that's always up to date. So basically this is a plan you can create and connect dynamically to existing boards, projects and filters. Okay, so here is what we can create a roadmap or the plan for, or which is at the portfolio level. Okay, and then create plan is to create the plan. When we go to the settings, you can do some of the settings for the Advanced Roadmap. So if you go to the settings, you will see that Advanced Roadmap option is available here, and you can see the permissions, the hierarchy configuration and the roadmap dependencies. So in the permission, what permission you want to assign to the people people. So for example, ability to create, view and edit plans. Who can do that? So Jira administrators, users, software users, you can add and remove the groups which can use the advanced roadmap basically, right? So accordingly, if you think that only Jira administrators and say for example you create another group for Jira product admin or product owners, then you can add those groups and then remove all of the other groups who don't need to have this edit plan details, right? So this permission you can easily manage here. Okay, similarly, if we go to the hierarchy configuration, you will see at the moment the hierarchy is basically the level is epic, okay, and then story and then subtask, right? So you can create a level, right? So you can create another level. Say for example, I want to track the epic, okay, or say for example I have the very high level feature and then below that feature there can be multiple epics. So I can create a level name feature, okay, and then I need to create a issue type basically for the feature. So this is more of a Jira administrator task. So in case in your project you are not happy with just epic being the highest level of the issue type, in the Jira advanced roadmap maybe you want to have issue type as a feature which contains multiple epics, then you create a Jira issue type as feature and then you create that feature, link that feature after searching here, because by default feature issue type is not available in Jira. You have to create a custom issue type feature and then associate that with this level name. So then the feature will be associated with feature and then epic will be having a association with epic. Then similarly for the story we'll have all other standard issue type, right, and then subtask issue type will be associated with the subtask. So this will be the hierarchy that will be associated, right? But as of now I'll remove that and reset it to what it was. Then advanced roadmap dependencies we'll see, and in the dependencies you will see that the dependencies that you want to assign in the advanced roadmap. So blocks is basically if A blocks B, then A is scheduled before B, right? So this is what you can define in the advanced roadmap settings and dependencies as well. Similarly, I can have other duplicate, relates, link type, and you can define the link type, the custom link types, and use it in the advanced roadmap setting. Okay, so this is a brief about the activation of advanced roadmap, some of the key items or the settings that you need to go through the advanced roadmap. So let's get started. Now, in order to create a new plan in Jira Advanced Roadmap, as we have already understood in the previous tutorial, how we can enable Advanced Roadmap in Jira Cloud. So if you haven't watched the previous tutorial, go ahead and watch it. Once you will enable Advanced Roadmap, you'll take that subscription. You will see this plans tab here. So just click on it and we'll click on create a plan. Okay, so click on create plan and we'll cover some of the key details that you need to understand in the creation of the plan. Okay, so first thing is creating the plan name or providing the plan name. So I will say RCV Academy plan, and in terms of access you can keep it private, wherein you can only view the plan and you can share it with the individuals that you want to share with. So individual or group you want to share with. If it is open, it can be viewed and edited with the users. So all advanced users, all advanced roadmap users will be able to view and edit the plan if you are keeping it open. However, you can restrict that access later as well. Okay, so we'll keep it open so that everyone else can access it. In terms of issue sources, what exactly is issue sources? So in this particular plan, advanced roadmap plan, what all issue sources you want to consider, from where the issues will be considered or picked up in this particular plan. So usually in the portfolio level planning, you will be having multiple projects, right? So ideally you will be choosing the issues from multiple projects, and say for example you are a portfolio lead and want to see how the overall team is progressing and the overall portfolio work is being going on. This is where you should be creating the plan and choosing the issue sources accordingly. Now in the issue sources you can choose the board, project and filter. Project is very common because whatever issues are there in project, you can choose those issues, right? So you just choose the project and you choose the project from the drop down. You can also choose the board. So there are project boards. So depending on what issues are there on the board, right? So you can basically choose those issues. In terms of filter, if you have created a filter for a particular project specific to the portfolio requirement, say for example, as a portfolio lead, you only want to filter the epic for a particular project, right? So you create a filter which filters all the epics for a project, and then you use those filter basically for those particular project, right? So any filters that you have saved previously, you can filter, you can create or choose those filters here. As of now, the most common one, project. As a portfolio lead, I'll choose some of the project. Now please note that at this point of time, while I'm recording this video, only company managed projects are supported in the advanced roadmap, as you can see. So team managed projects are not yet supported. It might be supported in future releases of Jira. Okay, so let's choose the roadmap for the company managed, and as soon as you will choose, you can choose the another one. In the other sources, you can choose the project, board, or filter, and you can choose the combination, right? So I can choose the board. Say for example, I'll choose the board for the next one, and then for the third one I'll choose the filter. Okay, and then I'll add, say, just any other procurement project, right? So you'll see that I have chosen different issue sources and the filters or board or basically the project depending on the issue sources, and you can keep adding those sources. Then there is something which is called refine issue display, which is exclusion rules that you can set. So if you click on set exclusion rules, then you can exclude certain issues in the project depending on what you don't want to see in the, or which issues you don't want to see in the portfolio, right? In the portfolio plan. So you can exclude any completed issues after, like 30 days, or exclusion issue type. So I don't want to include any of the bug in my portfolio, right? In my advanced roadmap plan. Then I don't want to use or track any of the statuses which are, say for example, requested or to do. So you can choose accordingly, right? So this is just to give you an example, or just that how you can basically exclude statuses, issue types, or even the releases. Okay, once you have selected all of that, you are happy with the details that you have selected here, you can simply click on create, and it will create the new plan for you. So let's see how the plan looks like once the plan has been created. Okay, so first time when you create the plan, you can go through the tour. So if you are very new, you can get started and see what all things that you can navigate to. So I'll skip that as of now. So you can go to the learn more as well, okay, and go to the more details. So however, as the new plan that we have created, now you can see the name of the plan. Okay, the roadmap views, different roadmap views are there. Okay, so you can see now this particular roadmap or advanced roadmap gives you a lot of advanced functionalities as compared to the basic roadmap that we have looked at, right? So here if you see, we have a different level of issues. So here you'll see that we have the view settings. So we'll go to the view settings and you can see the statuses, etc. However, let's quickly see the details in the top level planning. Okay, so the current view is the basic planning. Let's go to the top level planning, and once you select the top level planning, you will see that you will get the details as per the project, right? So we have this project, then we have this company managed project, and then we selected certain boards and filters, which is nothing but different, like projects, or they were part of these two projects. Okay, if we want to go ahead and add more projects, say for example in this plan, we'll go to the ellipses here, we'll go to the configure, right, and we go to the issue sources again, and say for example I want to add few more projects there. Okay, so let's add RCV procurement is there, demo I'll add, and then another project, company managed, and then the recruitment. Okay, so all of them have been selected, and if I'll choose the project, there is no other project that is there in my instance, so it will show me the blank list as soon as you select all of that. Okay, so once I have updated this, then if I go to the back to plan, now we'll see all of the projects that I have supported or I have selected are available here in my advanced roadmap plan, right? So recruitment is there, this demo is there, and the ones that are not shown, that means those projects that don't have any of the issues that were being planned as part of that project, and that is why you are not able to show, or you are not able to see any of these issues which are showing without a parent. Then that means these issues are not associated with any of the epic or parents. Okay, so you can clearly see what all projects are there in your plan, right? So you are a portfolio lead or manager, then at that level, what all epics are there in a particular project, how the teams have planned. So if you'll see that this is what the planning has been done for this particular team, right? So as the teams will plan their work at the portfolio level, you will be able to see how the teams are progressing, and you will have a single point or single source of truth for all the work item that has been planned. Okay, the other important thing is if there are team level dependencies. Now say for example RCV recruitment project, which I'll cover, I'll create a new sort of project and the epics in new projects, and then we'll cover a complete scenario. But I can also have the dependency management across different teams, right? So say for example, this is one of the issues, okay, that I want to plan. So this particular issue doesn't have any of the start date. So to choose a start date, I can simply click on this start date column here, and say for example I want to start this on 30th September, and it should get finished by 7th of October. So that updation of the date has been done. Right now, because I'm in the advanced roadmap, I can have the dependency management within the advanced roadmap. So in order to add the dependency, if you hover over on any of the issues, if, say for example this particular portal registration issue needs to finish before the candidate hiring for test analyst role needs to start, then we simply drag and drop the dependency arrow, and you will see that this highlighted red dependency appears, right? So the string doesn't appear, but if you click on this dependency, you will see that it has been added there, and this red highlight shows that these are not aligning, right? Because this is finishing on 4th of November, and I'm saying this issue needs to start on 30th of September, so which is not possible. So we have to replan the work accordingly at the portfolio level so that the issues are aligned among the teams and the dependency is well managed. Right, so this is very vast topic as such, but it is not very tricky to understand when you are doing the high level planning, as you are getting a single source of truth for your portfolio for different teams that are working. Then it becomes pretty easy for you to manage all of that dependency within the Jira Advanced Roadmap. If I highlight on any of the others, you won't see that dependency link appearing, right? So any of the issues which have this dependency link, you will see that this link icon appears, but all others which are not dependent, you will see that nothing appears. You can add those by clicking on the plus or by simply dragging and dropping the arrows from one of the dependencies to the other issue item on the board. Okay, so that's basically a brief introduction of creation of the plan in the advanced roadmap and how the advanced roadmap will look like. So this is very basic. We will cover a lot more detail in the upcoming tutorial about the advanced roadmaps in Jira. Of the key features that are available in Jira Advanced Roadmap and some of the key configuration options that we can do and you need to be aware of on the Jira Advanced Roadmap interface. So let's get started. So once we have created our plan, we need to first understand what all key options are available on this plan so that you know where you want to go and what all options you have available or features you have available, so that you can basically work on the advanced roadmap and plan your portfolio level work easily using Jira Advanced Roadmap. So in the left hand side, once we created the plan, you will see that this is the plan name. If you want to edit, you can quickly go and change it here and click on this tick and it will save the plan, right? So say for example, I want to change it to plan 1. Now just that has been changed, right? The 3 ellipses here, you can configure, delete the plan, take a tour and help. So this is most of the help that you'll get for the plan related. In terms of configuration, I can go to the configuration and you will see that it is on the scheduling, save views and different options for the plans, the configuration options that are available for the plan. You can estimate based on days, hours or story points. So choosing this selection will ensure the alignment of the estimation that is being done within your projects or teams, right? So say for example, your teams is at the story point planning level or follows that, choose the story points. Similarly, for the dates and other values, you will see that you will be able to configure the details here. Okay, in terms of dependencies, you can choose the different options to configure how to schedule dependent issues in the plan. Either you can do sequential or concurrent, etc. Okay, so there is a lot to cover in this particular section here, so I'll cover this in more advanced later, but this is how you will go ahead and change the configuration of the plan. Okay, now in the view section, this is the view section here. So by default you will have the basic view, and then you can go to the sprint capacity management or the top level planning or dependency management, right? So you can manage the views as well, and choose which default issue will be displayed once you open the Jira Advanced Roadmap. So if I go to manage view, by default you will see this is the default view selected. Okay, if I want to change this default view, I can change it to some other level as well. Okay, so again it's basically at the configuration, so I'll cover this section later in more detail, but this is just to show you that you can change the views, roadmap views, accordingly. So usually this is the top level planning that we were referring to, so you can select the top level planning and see this particular view. Okay, below that you will have this teams, releases, etc. as well. So if you have defined teams and releases, which we'll cover as well, so we will see that the team can be added and we can choose the teams within our portfolio level. So say for example, I have 5 different teams working under the portfolio. One team is working for the iOS app, another is for the Android app, and we have different tasks that need to be completed by those teams. We can add the teams here and then assign the issues accordingly to the team that is working on those particular issues. Let's go back. Then comes the filter. So basically in the filter, I can filter the hierarchy. So basically hierarchy, epic to story is there, but I can filter the issues by choosing the details here, right? So I can either choose the sprint for which I want to filter issues based on the assignee. So a lot of options in the filters. Okay, nothing too tricky here. In the view settings, you will see that the color at the moment is set to project, right? If I'll choose none, it will by default choose the defined color, but ideally, so say for example I want to change the color based on the project, so you'll see the color coding has changed for the timeline based on the project issues. Similarly, for the sort by, you can sort the issues based on different options that are available here, and then grouping by the project, right? So at the moment the grouping is by the project, but I can group by the assignee and by the team or by the sprint as well if we have the team defined, right? So let's move it back to the project. Dependency style is the badges or lines, right? So I can choose the dependency. So at the moment it was badges and there were no lines that were shown, right? So this was because the dependency style was the badges, right? So only badges were available, but we can change it to lines so you can see the dependencies and the lines among the dependencies. The next thing is very important, roll-ups. So if you select the dates as the roll-up, so what this does is if there are subtasks within Epic, then it will show a roll-up of the date in the fields and timeline section. Say for example, there's the particular portal registration epic, right? Now I haven't assigned any of the dates here, okay? But all of the child items or some of the child items have been assigned the start and end date. Then you will see automatically all the issues or the times that have been assigned, start date and end date that have been assigned to the child items of this particular epic will be rolled up, and the final timeline will be shown for this particular portal registration epic or the parent issue. And the roll-up issues will be shown by this cross lines. You can see the view is a bit different as compared to, so this is just a plain color there, but this is more of a cross rolled up timeline. Okay, so this is very important. If you just want to do the planning for the child issues and do not want to bother about the parent issue, then do the planning of the child issues accordingly, and the roll up will ensure the timeline rolls up properly for the parent issue. Okay, so that's the very good feature. Then you can choose other as well. Okay, the next thing is you can save this view. Okay, so what will happen is you can save this view as save as new view. So I can click on save view and I'll say new view and then click on save, and what this will do is this particular view will be basically saved, right? So that new view will be saved here and it will be available in the roadmap view. Okay, so depending on what all changes you do here, if you want to add a certain new columns, which I'll cover, but by default these are the views, but then you can create your view and then save the view as a new view and then choose the new view so that you can view the the overall plan in the advanced roadmap as per your needs in the portfolio. Okay, so that's about the saving. Okay, you can delete the view as well. And then the next section is basically around the configuration of the, so here directly you can create the issue within the plan itself. Okay, then in terms of issue, you can collapse and things like that. You can do the bulk changes, selecting all, and you can do the bulk changes directly from here from the plan. So you can bulk change in Jira or remove from the plan accordingly. The next thing is around the fields, very important. So if you click on this, right, so at the moment you will see releases and components. There are no releases and components that have been added. So I think, yes, there is no release that has been added, but I'll add some release and components so that I can display that as well and show that example as well. But in terms of field, if you want to add or remove certain fields from this display, so for example, progress, issue count, right? So this progress I do not want to see here. I can change that or remove that, and that will be gone. Start date, due date I want. Release and components I do not want, so I can remove those as well, or I can add the new fields accordingly, right? So say for example, I want to add the dependencies there. Okay, so I have added the dependencies, and now the dependencies are being displayed here. So you can see incoming dependency and outgoing dependency are being displayed accordingly. And with this view, you will be able to easily see which issue or which particular epic or story is basically having the maximum number of dependencies and where you need to address those, so that you can basically ensure that the other issues that are being blocked by this particular issue, you can see that this portal registration has 3 outgoing dependencies, so it is blocking these 3 issues. So this is something which is critical. You can keep a tab on, right, and make sure that this gets completed on time so that other issues can start. Okay, so this is around the fields. Now this is again nothing too tricky here. This is just the timeline where you will see the timeline of the issues that have been planned. All right, now the next section is around here. So next section is around the display, right? So I can maximize to the full screen. So it will be the full screen plan as such. Then I can see the quarterly, monthly or weekly, and then also reset this date to today, right? So whatever date will be there, it will be displayed accordingly. So you can change the plan accordingly and the display of the plan as per the custom range or quarters or month. Once you have done all of these changes, so these are some of the key sections, right? Once you are happy with all of the changes that you have done, then you can, share this particular plan. All right, you can also embed in Confluence. So if you want to generate link and embed or generate the link to share the plan or use it in the Confluence, you can add it in the Confluence. You can embed it within the website as an iframe, or you can export the plan as a CSV as well. Okay, similarly, there are certain warnings, so you can go through and look at the warnings that are there that need to be resolved. And then the most important thing is around review changes, right? So unless and until you go ahead and review the changes, because this plan that you are updating here will be a single source of truth, right? So say for example, you are doing a multiple team planning and you are changing the start and end date of certain issues based on the dependencies of the issues. So you might be changing some of the dates and moving forward and bringing backward some of the release dates for the issues. So in those cases, once you do all of those changes in the due date and start date of the issues, you have done some of the dependency management and updation in the plan, you have to basically review these changes and save all of these changes in Jira, because once you do these changes, these do not go back automatically and update the start and due date, whatever you update here, or dependencies automatically within Jira. These changes are still here unless until you go ahead and say review changes and save selected changes in Jira. Once I'll do that, all of the changes that I have done here will get updated into the issues, including the time and the due date, etc., into the Jira issues, into specific projects. Okay, so you can either save or you can discard selected changes. So let me save the selected changes, and you'll see it will show saving in Jira. So now you will see that there is no highlight here that I have to review the changes. As soon as I'll change any of the timeline and things like that, right? You will see again there has been one change that I can review and update in Jira accordingly. Okay, so this is a brief introduction about the Jira Advanced Roadmap layout and some of the key features that are available and you need to aware of before you can start getting into the detail of the advanced roadmap within Jira. So let's get started. So I'm here in the Jira Roadmap and this is the advanced roadmap. So this is the paid version and this is the advanced roadmap. So say for example, to create an issue, you will clearly see that there is a create issue link here. We'll simply click on it and then you can create an epic or story. Okay, so let's go ahead and create an epic. So I have created these two different projects already. So iOS and Android. Say for example, as part of my portfolio, when I'm launching my website, I also want to launch the iOS app and the Android app as well. So I have different teams. So there is an iOS team and then there is an Android team who will be working on the different applications, different mobile applications. And then there is a team which will do the website. So for example, this company management or company managed project, which is roadmap B, Kanban, right? And some other examples of the projects here. So say for example, I want to create an epic in the iOS app. I'll select that and then simply provide the issue summary, right? So I will simply say portal registration. So this is, say for example, my high level user story, or basically the epic, which will have multiple user stories below that, right? So that epic is created and now you will see that iOS app is listed and displayed because previously there were no issues, so that's why it was filtered out. As soon as there will be issue within the project, you will see that project will be listed in here as well. Okay, and to make sure that these projects are selected, I have basically went to the configure and issue sources, right? So you have to make sure whichever project you want to plan in the Jira Advanced Roadmap, you have to make sure that in the issue sources, you have to go back and add those sources or add those projects or the board into the issue sources. Okay, so let's go back to the plan and add some more items there. Okay, so I'll add the course catalog in a different project and let's add one story each. So from here, say for example, I want to create an issue, I'll say story, and in this case I'll say Android app, and this story, you'll see that I'll choose a story, the type from the drop down, and then I'll just say sample story 1, right? And similarly sample story 2. And here, as soon as I create those, you will see that these two issues are without the parent. So that means they are not assigned to any of the parents. So there is no root story that has been assigned to parent. So this is the second point that we want to cover. So link issue to a parent. How we can do that? Let's quickly go ahead and understand. Now say for example, I want to assign this particular sample story 1 a parent, so I can simply just select that, okay, and then drop it at, so after highlighting, so as soon as you will see, let me do it again, the second one, so I just drop it at the level of the epic for which this particular story is a child, okay, and automatically that linking will happen and you will see that now 0 issues without parent, right? So there are no issues here that are without parent and these stories have been associated a parent. So this is one of the way that you can directly do. Other option in this case could be, once you have the story numbers or the ID numbers for these issues that you have created, say for example, at the moment these issues are only specific to the board. They haven't been created in Jira yet. So if you go to the review changes, you will see that these are created, okay, but they are not saved. So these changes are not saved in Jira. So that is why you won't see any of the items or the numbers for these issues. So unless and until you save selected changes in Jira, it won't get saved into Jira. It is still specific to only this plan. Okay, so this is basically the second part of linking the issue to a parent. Okay, now let's quickly go ahead with the ranking of the issues. So now you will see that this item, right, this number is appearing, okay, and similarly here only one epic is there, so this number. But if I go to this particular project, there are multiple epics and you will see that there are this numbering is appearing. So this is basically ranking of those epics. To change the ranking, it's same simple process. you can just drag and drop issues across the project and the ranking of the issues will change. Say for example, portal registration has the highest rank, needs to be completed first. I'll just drag and drop portal registration at the first place, and this epic is now ranked as number 1. Now ranking these epics won't impact the ranking of the issues that are within that epic. Okay, so say for example, this 3, 6, 5, 11, 4, this is the ranking of the issues. Then if I change the ranking of portal registration from first to third, the internal issues will still be ranked the same way. Similarly, internally as well, you can just drag and drop the issues to rank the issues internally. The number won't appear internally, the number will be appeared at the higher level or the epic level. Okay, so this is how you will change the ranking of the issues in your Jira Advanced Roadmap planning. Let's move next. Creating the team and assigning the issues. Okay, that's very important as well. Now, once you have all the issues within your Jira roadmap, you want to basically see who this particular team is that will be working on these items, right? So to get the team list here, so you simply go to the fields and search for team and add the team field. Okay, so you'll see that at the moment there is no team that is there. Okay, if I expand here, I can select the teams, right? But there are no teams added. So in order to add the teams, what we can do is we can go to this top level planning. All right, so just drop down and you can see that teams is here. Click on teams and there are no teams that have been added yet. Okay, so I'll click on team and I can add an existing shared team. Now there is a concept of private team and a shared team. When we say private team, so private teams are the teams in roadmap that are available only for a particular plan. So say for example, this RCV Academy plan 1 will be only having access to this private team. However, if we have the shared team, that team can be accessed by any number of plans that you create in this advanced roadmap. Okay, so let's create a private team first, and then I'll name it as Android iOS team, and choose the project to iOS app, leave it to Scrum, and a velocity point, whatever velocity your team has, identify and put that velocity iteration. Usually 2 weeks we follow in Scrum, so that's sort of a standard at maximum places. If you have 3 weeks or 4 weeks iteration, just update that. To add the user, simply select the drop down, start searching and click on create team, right? So private team has been added. To create a shared team, click on manage shared teams, and here you will get an option to create a team, right? So here I will say Android team and click on create, and you will see the Android team, which is shared team, has been created. Now if we go to the plan again, let's go to teams, and now in order to have that shared team available here in this plan, what you have to do is you have to again say add team, right? And you have to say add an existing shared team, and from the drop down you have to add that Android team here. Okay, and now this is shared team and this is plan only team. Okay, so basically now if we want to edit, right, so to edit this Android team that we have added in this plan, we'll simply click on edit, and now you can start adding the members in this shared team which is specific to this plan. Okay, and then associate this shared team with an Android app. This is a bit tricky, but that's, you know, how the design has been. So you have to create a shared team, then you have to add it to the plan, whichever plan you want to add it to. Plan only team will be specific to plan, and which makes sense, right? I mean, shared team, you add it and then you update the velocity points, sprint length, etc. accordingly, and that's how the usual design is. Now once you have added these teams, we go to the top level planning again, and we can associate now you'll see that teams are available here, and now because this is Android, so I know this is the work item for the Android team, and during the planning I'll simply choose the Android team there, and for the other one I'll choose the iOS team, and now you'll see the plan only team is highlighted here because this is the plan only team. All right, so this is basically how you will create team and assign issues to the team. Now the next thing is bulk edit issues and track work progress, which is very important. So once you have done this, planning is basically, you know, adding the start and end date, and there is a lot of work that goes into the planning. It is not an easy activity. I'm here able to explain you how you are going to navigate and do things, but planning in itself requires a lot of effort, communication across the team, across your portfolio, across multiple project managers that will be working with you, and you as a portfolio lead need to manage all of that and then come up with that planning accordingly and update this whole plan, right? Now the next thing is basically bulk edit issues, which is very important. So say for example, you want to change something in the issues directly from the portfolio. Okay, so in this two issues, I can select these issues, bulk issues, okay, and I want to change some statuses or something. So you select multiple issues that you want to change, and then you will see that bulk actions appear. And now here you can change the assignee. So rather than changing these assignees one by one, so say for example, you want to change the assignee, right? So change the assignee in a bulk. Say for example, I want to assign these many issues to RCV tutorials or any users, right? So say for example, Tom. So you select that person and apply directly from the plan. Okay, so this will expedite your overall process. Then you can change the date or the rank or release. So there are a lot of options. I can change the date, team as well. I can choose the team. Like I want to assign all of these items that I have selected to the Android team. So instead of doing one by one, all of the options or all of the issues have been updated automatically with that particular team. So this is how you will do the bulk change within the Jira Advanced portfolio. Now the last item, which is track work progress, very, very important. Now tracking work progress, you first have to go to the fields and see what fields are available, right? So if you click on the choose fields, you will see that you can track the progress by issue count and track the progress by story points. Okay, so if your team is updating the story points properly, you will get the progress of the story points here. How many story points, the total story points were allocated to this particular epic, and then how many of those are completed, right? So remaining, completed, and total, you will get all of those details here for that particular issue. If you hover over, you'll get all of those details. So say for example, here there were 6 story points, unestimated issues are 6, and there was no estimation done, so you'll get all those details here. The other progress is based on the issue count. You will select the issue count and you will see that based on how many issues are there within that particular epic, what is the exact status, how many of them are done or in progress or to do, you will get those details in the progress. Okay, so this is a brief about the overview section of the Jira Advanced Roadmap and what all you can do in order to create issues, linking issues, ranking, etc. Then creating teams and assigning the issues directly from the teams, then bulk editing issues and tracking work progress right then and there from the Jira Advanced Roadmap. Once you have done all of this and you are, say for example, happy, after that you will be doing a lot of planning, right? I mean, this whole planning you will be doing, and we'll cover the auto planning and manual planning when you will do the plan of these activities, why these warnings are appearing. We'll cover all of that. Once you are done, then you'll see that review changes, right? You'll see 14 changes we have done. We need to review. Unless and until we review and save these changes in Jira, none of these changes will go and update in Jira, right? So all of the issues that we have created, you'll see that they are still not created, that we don't have any unique identifier for these issues that we have created right from the portfolio. So you have to save the selected changes, and these changes will then get updated and saved into Jira, and this list will then disappear. Okay, so you won't see any of the changes that need to be addressed once this saving happens. So you'll see now there is nothing, no warning as such, or no update, or no notification for the review changes. Okay, and if you see here the Android app, now you will see these issues are having the numbers. That means they are being saved into Jira, and now this is in sync. This plan is in sync with the Jira issues. Okay, how you are going to do the planning within Jira Roadmap. So what we are going to cover is, we are going to cover how you can schedule issues by sprints or by start and end date. Then what exactly is roll up of the values, how the roll up values work, and then the concept of external sprints. Say for example, you want to schedule issues by the sprints. What is the concept of external sprints and how you are going to basically work with external sprints and avoid some of the conflict. Okay, so let's get started. So here, if you see, in this particular state here. So if you do not see this particular sprint column, what you need to do is you need to simply go to the fields and search for sprint and add the sprint, right? So most probably sprint won't be added, so in this case simply add the sprint. Okay, now when you add the sprint, you can do the planning based on the sprint that you will be adding, right? So you'll see that the sprints are available here and you can do the planning based on the sprint. The other issue that you might face with the concept of external sprint is, say for example, these two projects, right? Android project, say let's go to the project, Android project, and we do the sprint planning. So this is assigned to AARA sprint 1, right? So these are the issues in the Android project that are assigned to this particular sprint. If we go to the backlog, you will see clearly that the sprint 1 contains these issues, which is basically available here in the active sprint. Now when we go to the plan, right, and we go to these user stories, so story 3 and the code, say for example AARA3, let's go to the plan and see what exactly we are able to see there. So in the Android, you will see that AARA3, right, it doesn't show any of the sprint that this particular user story is part of, right? So ideally when you start the sprint and save it, it will show you here as an external sprint, right? The reason for that external sprint is that because this particular issue is part of the sprint that is associated with the project, right? And it is not being, and because in this plan, when we configured this plan, we are not using, so if we go to the issue sources, we are not using board. So whenever you are doing the planning based on the sprint, make sure that you filter the issues, or whenever you are filtering the issue based on the issue sources, make sure you are filtering based on the board and not the project. If you are filtering based on the project, then in that case, see this one, Android app, is filtered based on the project. So whenever I'll create a sprint and associate an item, work item, that work item will be listed on the plan and the sprint associated to that will be listed as external sprint. Okay, and you won't be able to assign or plan based on the external sprint. So you will be only be able to assign or work based on the sprints that are associated with the board, because sprint is, by default, sprint is associated to board. So it's more relevant when you are planning based on the sprint, you plan or you filter the issues based on the board rather than the project. Okay, so that's the concept of the external sprint. So let's go to the plan again. Now based on the sprint, let's go to the plan based on the sprint. So now you will see that I think it was not pulling those sprint. Now you'll see that it is clearly showing whichever stories have been planned externally, it is showing that sprint currently not in this plan and you cannot use this sprint, right? So these issues that are shown as part of the sprint are coming from the external sprint, right, which is part of the project. And because this project is not filtered, or the issues within this project are not filtered based on the board, so that is why we can't choose that. But if we go back and configure and change this Android app issue source, this project Android app issue source, to the board, right, and choose the board basically. So let's say we'll choose this board, right, Android app board, and we go back. Now we should be able to choose the sprint that is created as part of the Android project and has the board, right? So you'll see that now it doesn't show that it is an external sprint, because now whatever issues that I have taken here are being filtered by the board setting, not the project setting. Okay, so this is the key thing, that you can plan based on the sprint, but you have to make sure that you are filtering the issues based on the board at the plan level. Okay, so now in order to plan, pretty simple, I can simply select the sprint. Say for example, this issue I want to plan in sprint AARA sprint 2, if I have a sprint 2 there, right? So we have created multiple sprints, so I can plan the work accordingly. Now usually this work you will be planning in the same project, right? So there'll be like AARA sprint 2, 3, etc. So you'll be planning the work accordingly, and to plan the work you will simply choose the sprint. And because sprint will have those dates, start date and end date, so you can easily, as soon as you will choose these start and end dates, or basically the sprint, the timeline of the issues will be updated accordingly. Okay, so let's go to the end of the project here. So we'll go to this roadmap, company managed, and let's plan this one based on the sprint, right? So you'll see that these issues are part of the sprint 1, and let's say this one I want to plan in the sprint 2. So as soon as I'll choose the sprints there, then these work items that are part of that particular filter will be associated to those sprints, and you can do the planning as per the sprint. So this is the first way to basically schedule the issues by sprint. The second one is very simple, so simply by the start and end date. So we can just specify the start date and the due date for the issues, and the planning for the issues can happen automatically, right? So here if you see the ones that are planned based on the sprint, you will see that issue has no dates, so it is using the dates assigned to the sprint, right? So whatever dates will be assigned to the sprint will be utilized by the issues that you plan by the sprint. Okay, so here you'll see that the sprint 2 is basically from 8th of October to 22nd. Let me see, I think it is not updated because there was already the date, right? So now you will see that based on the sprint that we chose, you will see that it has updated. So if I change it to 1, say for example, you will see the timeline also gets updated, and these dates also get updated based on the sprint level planning. Okay, so this happens automatically, the date and everything, but if you choose these dates manually, that will override what the sprint values for the dates are. Okay, the second option is to choose these dates, start and end date, manually. So you can update the plan here, the plan date here. So I can choose, say for example, this story needs to start from 7th of October and needs to finish by 21st. I will specify that here, or the other way is, let me remove some of the fields so let me remove the progress so we can see some of the details here. So you can either choose the dates here, or simply just hover over, right? So hover over the issue and you will see that it is already highlighting the timeline, right? So wherever you want to, say for example, I want to start this particular issue from 2nd of November, just click there and you will see that automatically it will choose the date and timeline here. And then if I have to specify or just reduce the number of days or the end date, just drag and drop the end date accordingly, and those values will be updated automatically here. And then once you review the changes, it will be automatically updated in the issues as well. Okay, so this is how you will do the scheduling of the issues or planning the issues by the start and end date. Okay, then we have understood about the external sprints. Then what is roll up values, right? So roll up values is basically, say for example, this is the root level epic, right? So this is the epic, which is the parent epic, and these are the child issues among that. Now when we do the roll up of the issues, so if we say for example, I do not choose the date in this particular case, okay, for the parent issue, all right, and then go to the settings, and here you will see that there is a roll up of dates. If I choose the roll up of dates, it will automatically, so based on the dates that are allocated to the child issue, the dates or the timeline will automatically roll up based on the start and end date of the issues, right? When these are starting and ending, and it will give you an indication of when the particular root or parent item will be starting and finishing based on the child planned items that you have done. Okay, so this is another very good feature to utilize when you are doing the planning in Jira Advanced Roadmap, that you can roll up the time and it will automatically give you an indication of the start and finish date of a particular high level epic. So that's pretty much all about the scheduling of issues by the sprint, by start and end date, roll up of the values, and the concept of external sprint. So external sprint, if you are filtering the issues on this particular plan based on the project and not the board, then the sprint that are planned in the project, okay, those sprints will be visible on the board, on the plan. So here, if this filter is based on the project and this project has the sprint, then those sprints will be visible in the plan as the external sprint, and you won't be able to use those sprints to plan the other issues in that particular project. But if you have filtered issues based on the board, then you will be able to plan the issues or plan the stories and work items into your Jira Advanced Roadmap based on the sprint. Okay, so this is briefly about how you can do the planning in Jira Advanced Roadmap, different options, and then ensure that your plan looks as expected and the dependencies are managed properly across the project and across multiple projects and portfolio. Planning scenarios that you can enable in Jira Advanced Roadmap and do the planning with different what if conditions. So in the high level planning, it most of the time becomes really complex and there are many factors that might impact the delivery of the overall solution. So in that particular case, you need to come up with some sort of plan wherein you consider different conditions that might impact the delivery timelines. So Jira Advanced Roadmap provides very good feature and we will understand that in this particular tutorial. So let's get started. So by default, the different configuration, so basically the what if scenarios planning won't be enabled. So in order to enable, you have to go to the three ellipses here, click on configure, and you will see that there are planning scenarios. In the advanced section, you will see the scenarios. Okay, so by default it won't be enabled and you won't be able to see it in the plan. So you have to enable it. So enable scenarios, and then it will ask you what scenario, or you can create different scenario, right? So any changes that you do in this current scenario will only exist in this scenario. Okay, so whatever scenario, you can create multiple scenarios from here or from the plan. I'll show you that as well, but you have to specify the title. Say for example, this is the initial scenario that you are planning, and then you can choose the color of that plan or the scenario as well. So we'll create the initial scenario and the initial scenario will be added. If I want to add another scenario, okay, so I'll click on create scenario, and in this case you can choose either a blank scenario or a copy of the initial scenario. Okay, so I can say I'll create a copy of the initial scenario and then I'll update the details in the scenario that I'll create, right? So say for example, this is best case. Okay, so this is best case scenario. I'll name it as best case and I'll copy from the initial scenario and I'll create it, and then you will see that the color is basically whatever color you have chosen. Now these two scenarios, so for example, we have created. Now let's go back to the plan and you will see the scenario drop down appears now. Okay, so by default this won't appear unless and until you go into advanced section and enable it. So now I can, as a portfolio lead or portfolio director, I can come in and update these scenarios based on the different what if conditions. So say for example, the best case would be that all of my stories go as they are planned. There are no blockers, there is nothing that is blocking, and everything is very well aligned, and then it moves or the work moves as per plan. Okay, so in that particular case, I'll do all of that planning accordingly, and after that, say for example, this one will be part of the sprint 2 and this is sprint 2, and this will basically give us the indication that when my overall or when my work will be basically finished, right? So let me add it into the sprint 2. So this is what we have done basically for the best case scenario. Okay, so this is what you will do as a portfolio lead to do the planning of the overall delivery or the portfolio level delivery or release. All right, once you have done this best case or this all planning only remains in this particular scenario. Okay, it doesn't go back and update into the Jira issues by default unless and until you select a scenario, right? So for example, I select this initial scenario and then click on review changes and publish those changes or save those changes into Jira, right? So if I change this best case now to best case, so you'll see review changes still there, and whatever details I have chosen, for example, the sprint 2, wherever I have chosen, it still persists in this particular scenario. So whenever you do a scenario, what if scenario planning, in that particular case, depending on the scenarios that you choose, the details or the plan basically is saved in that particular scenario and will give you a indication of what happens if those conditions are fulfilled or those conditions are not fulfilled, right? So you can keep creating the scenarios based on the different conditions and the outcome that you expect into your portfolio. To create a scenario directly from the plan, you can click on create scenario from here, this plus sign, or to manage scenario, you click on manage scenario and it will take you to the same screen here. From here, you can delete the scenario or disable the whole scenario thing into the Jira Advanced Roadmap. So if you click on disable here, you can click on disable or complete the disable process. If you click on this button, it will disable the scenario into Jira Advanced Roadmap. Okay, so this is a brief about the scenario planning or the scenarios into Jira Advanced Roadmap and how you are going to utilize the scenarios to plan your work based on different what if conditions. How you can do the capacity planning in Jira Advanced Roadmap. Now, before we get into the details of capacity planning in Jira Roadmap, let us first understand what is capacity and velocity. So many times people get confused between the capacity and velocity of the team. So when we talk about the capacity, I'll take an example of a team of, say, for example, 5 members who are actually working within the team. They are taking the user stories and delivering the user stories. So if those 5 team members are not taking any planned leaves, so excluding planned leaves and any public holidays, the number of points that can be taken by those team members within that sprint or number of days that they can work, if you total that amount, that is what the capacity of your team is. Now, usually the teams in the projects, what they follow is, say for example, you have 5 team members and there are no public holidays, no planned leaves. So basically in a 2-week sprint, you have 10 working days, right? Now, out of those 10 working days, teams usually assign 8 story points or 8 days of working for each of those members. So if a team of 5 members, there usually 40 story points or 40 working days for the whole team will be allocated as the team capacity. This is what the team has in their hand within that particular sprint. So that's the capacity. All right. Now, when we talk about the velocity is the actual outcome or the output. So say for example, the team took 40 story points in sprint 1. Okay. And out of those 40, they were able to deliver only 35. Okay, so that 35 and any subsequent outcome or the delivery that has been done by the team. So maybe next sprint they have delivered 38 out of 40 and in the third sprint they have delivered 40 out of 40. So when you basically average that out based on the number of previous or the past deliverable of the team, then that is what the velocity of the team is. So capacity is what the capacity of the team is to take the word as the name suggests, right? I mean, I have the capacity to work for 8 hours a day. So that's my capacity. But when we talk about the velocity, 5 days working continuously, I might not be able to focus for 8 hours or deliver the work items that have been allocated for 8 hours every day with the same speed, right? So there might be possibility, there might be some blockers that come in picture and they might reduce my velocity. Okay, so this is briefly about the capacity and velocity. Now, Jira Advanced Roadmap provides very good feature of the capacity planning. So how you can do the capacity planning, let's go ahead and understand that. So we'll create a new plan. Okay, so go ahead to the plan and we'll click create plan, and in the plan name, let me give it a name, capacity planning demo. Leave the access as open and make sure that in the issue sources you select the board. So board for the project that you want to plan, right? So for example, iOS is the project that I want to plan and the Android. Now, why do we need to choose the issue source as board? Because sprint information, active sprint and all is associated with the board and board filter. So that is why we need to include the issue source as board and then create. So once you create this plan, we need to do certain changes there in order to enable the capacity planning. Now there's the basic view. If we go to the top level planning, you will see that these two projects are here and the issues that were there or the epics that were there along with the stories have been pulled in. Now, in order to enable the capacity planning, you need to go to the view settings. Then you need to group by either the team or the sprint. Okay. So if you change it to team and ensure that show capacity on timeline is checked, then it will enable that capacity planning. Now still you will see that this team currently is not in this plan, right? So team we haven't added. So let's go ahead and add the team as well. And because you are able to see it, because there are some, if you see this pop-up, it says it's appearing because it's assigned to issues in the plan, and that is why it is appearing, right? So there will be, if I filter or add the teams here, you will see that this team is added, right? So what we'll do is we will add a team, new team here, and then associate that team or associate these items to that team. Okay, so let me quickly delete all of these teams, and so everything will be in the unassigned, right? So all of the issues are in the unassigned state at the moment in the plan, and then we'll add the team in this plan. So to add the team, we'll go to the team, right? So drop down, go to the team and click on add team, and there are existing shared team that I have created. So I'll add those teams here, and then similarly I'll add the iOS team. Okay, so two teams have been added. Now if we go to the top level planning, and then we can start adding the team, right? So this is the iOS epic. So in the team, I can choose the iOS team for the user story there. Okay, and similarly for the Android issues, I can choose the Android team, and you will see the team will start appearing, or the issues will get assigned to those teams. All right, and then you will see the message that associate this team with an issue source to view its sprints. So still we cannot see the sprint. This is another thing that we need to fix. Now, how do we need to associate this team with an issue source? In the issue source, we have ensured that we have selected board, right? But that's not enough to view these sprints. What we need to do is we need to go to the teams again, and here you will see that associated issue source is none. So we have to edit and click on the issue source as the board, save it, and similarly for the Android. So once you have saved it, if I go to the top level planning now, you will see the sprints have started appearing, right? And the capacity of the sprint and the points that have been allocated to that sprint, right? So if you see the hover, the pop-up here, 30 is the capacity of the sprint and 8 is the story points that have been allocated to that particular sprint. If I click on that, you will see that 8 of 30 points allocated, and it will show you all the details about the sprint. Let me move this here. So you'll see that sprint capacity is 30 points. You can change the sprint capacity right from here as well. Say for example, for this particular sprint, I have the capacity of 34 points, right? Then you can update that here, and you will see that this change is saved in this particular plan, right? So that's another possibility right from the capacity plan. Other thing it will show is the status of the issues that have been allocated, and then you can view the sprint in Jira or filter issues and then view velocity chart right from here. Let me move this from quarter to month so that we can see or maybe week, so we can see the sprints clearly. And what I'll do is I'll remove the start date and end date and components so you can see the sprints, right? So now if I change it to months, you will see that the sprints are appearing for both of the teams, right? So this is sprint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and accordingly the projected sprints will appear. And now you can do the sprint level planning and associate or align the issues, assign the issues for these sprints, and you will see what the capacity of that sprint is, and according to that you can do the planning or the sprint level planning or capacity planning right from here in the capacity planning section of the advanced Jira roadmaps, right? The next thing is, say for example, I'll show you how quickly can you do this planning, right? So if I add the sprint column here, right, so you will see that this story is assigned to sprint 1, so I'll assign it to sprint 1. Then from the unassigned, this is, let's go to the stories here. So these are being assigned to the sprint, but the team hasn't been assigned, so that is why they are not associated there. So I'll assign the iOS team, and then you will see all of these work items are being, or the issues are being added to the sprints, right? And similarly we'll do for this one. So this is assigned to sprint 5, and here if I go to this iOS portal registration, you will see this is iOS sprint 2, and if we go to this particular sprint, you will see the capacity is 30, but allocation is showing as 0. Why is that? Because these tasks haven't been estimated yet, so we need to make sure that we have the estimation for these, or the story points for these allocated there. So say for example, I'll assign the allocation or the story points 13 and come back, then you will see the allocation. If I refresh this, you will see the allocation will be done successfully for those particular work items within that sprint. You will see now it is showing that 13 of 30 points have been allocated. Now this sprint is 43% full. Okay, so same way, basically for the team level, you can keep going through the task at the portfolio level and assign the sprint that have been created based on the priority of the deliverable and associate the team. And if there are tasks and issues that haven't been allocated the story points, then it will show as allocated as 0. So you have to make sure if it is showing as 0, even though you have associated these tasks and story points, stories there, that means they haven't been estimated. So you have to make sure those are estimated so that all the points add up and you can basically, estimate those. Okay, so say for example, this task, if I see, so it doesn't have the story point field there. So let's go back and see some other stories. So this one, say for example, right? So this is sprint 3 and these all are sprint 1. Okay, so all of these haven't been assigned the story points, you see. So if I say assign 20 story points, or let's say put hypothetically 100 story points, I just want to show you that if the allocated story points for a sprint exceeds the capacity, you will see the warning there that this particular sprint is out of capacity, right? So this is over 333%. So capacity is 30, but then the allocated point for this sprint is 100. So you have to basically, on this particular view itself, you will see how much the capacity is, whether the sprint is overloaded. You need to reduce the stories from there or the work items from that particular user story, from that sprint, and plan accordingly in this particular section. All right, so this is a brief about how you can do the capacity planning in Jira Advanced Roadmap. Couple of things while creation of the plan: make sure the issue sources are boards. When you allocate the team at the team level, you have to go and make sure that the issue source is selected, right? Associated issue source is selected, and this is what you have to do. So there is one thing which is issue source from the configuration from here. This has to be done, as well as you have to make sure when you are in the plan, you have to go to the team, and for the team, the issue source needs to be the board as well. Only then you will be able to see the top level, the capacity planning view that I'm showing you here. Okay, so this is all about it, and once you are happy with these changes, you can simply review the changes, right? And then basically you can say, yeah, I'm good with this particular plan. And if you want to save it to the Jira, then simply save the selected changes in Jira. Okay, at the moment, since you haven't changed it, these changes are still in this particular capacity planning demo plan itself and not saved into the Jira, or the issues haven't been updated with all of the details that you have updated here. Okay. Managing releases in Jira Advanced Roadmap. So release management in Jira Advanced Roadmap is absolutely simple and easy process, and it will be really helpful when you are planning the different releases for specific projects or even combined projects. So let's get started. So first thing is how you can basically create releases out of the Jira roadmap, right? So to enable releases or create the releases directly from the roadmap, you simply have to go to the planning, the drop down here, and you will see below teams, you will have the releases as well. So as soon as you will select releases, it will display what all plan have you created as part of this Jira roadmap plan? And for those projects or the filters that you have pulled the issues for those projects, you can create the release. Now there is a concept of cross project release and release. The cross project release are the releases for multiple projects. Say for example, it is similar to the release or the deployment that you usually do. So when we talk about release in the software development and delivery, it is basically the work items that you need to do as part of the project and then deploy those to the production, right? So you are releasing a software, so there is a certain work item that needs to be done, and as part of, say for example, Android app and iOS app, we are developing certain features and we have certain releases, so we'll be having releases, right? So for each of these products, we have the individual release. We can create the individual release and then we can create the cross project release as well. So let's quickly create individual releases and then I'll explain the cross project release. So to create a release, simply click on create release and say for example, this is Android release 1. Okay, so I'll simply choose that, and in the start date you have different options. So as early as possible, fixed date, or relative to previous release date. Okay, so if, say for example, you have a fixed start date and the release date that has been defined, say for example, your company or your project does quarterly release or monthly release, depending on what is the frequency of the release, you can specify the release date. So say for example, my release 1 needs to start from tomorrow, and then fixed date of the release is basically just after a month, so 29th of October. Okay, so that's how you will create the release, right? So first release has been created. Similarly, let's create a iOS release, and you will be having multiple releases there, right? So it's not just that you'll be having one release, and similarly for this one, I'll have the fixed date. So for this one, let's say as early as possible and when all the issues are completed, right? So you can choose the release date when all the issues in this particular project have been completed. So there are multiple options that you can choose. So I can choose that. And then in order to create a cross project release, so what exactly it is just for the reference purpose, and the cross project release that you create do not get saved into the Jira instance when you do the review changes, right? So when we usually do the review changes, the changes that you do in the plan usually get saved, right? So cross project releases are just for the plan, and they group multiple releases. And what is the benefit of the cross project release is that it will help you to organize and align the dates for release for the related releases. Say for example, both of these releases are more or less going at the same time, like in a week's difference. So you can, when you have the cross project release, you can see the details of both of the releases, how they are going, and then align the times accordingly or align them in the same date for those releases. So I'll simply say cross project release 1, and then you can choose the project for which you want to include in the cross project release, right? So there are only 2 releases, so we'll simply choose and create the cross project release. So each of these releases have been created, and let me create one more iOS release. And so say for example, this is release 2, and this needs to start. So if I choose the relative to previous release date, then you can choose the whenever the previous release has happened, when after how much time this release, the next release will start. So say for example, 1 week after, right? And then the release, it will be fixed. So let's say this needs to go on 30th November. Okay, so there are 2 releases that have been added for iOS. Now this is how you will add releases in Jira Roadmap. Okay, now if you go to the top level planning view, and you will see that the overall here, if you see the details, so here now you can associate the work items to the releases, right? So the stories that need to go in a particular release, that you can associate to the releases. Say for example, this course catalog needs to go into the Android release 1, so I can associate the release to the work items that are below this epic to release 1, and then the whole epic will be associated with Android release 1. Okay, so that's how you will basically do the planning, add the releases and do the planning based on the releases in the Jira Advanced Roadmap. Now at the top, if you'll see here, you will see that this icon, the green icon or the red icon, based on whether the release is on track or not, you will see the details at the top, right? So based on the release date, so you'll see that release date is 30th of November, which is 2 months from now. And because this release is on track, there is no delay that has been detected based on the planning that has been done or whatever information is available in this plan. That is why it is showing as green. And I can click on this highlight on the timeline and you will see the highlight appears. Okay, the timeline appears. Now if we go to the weeks, or let's say months, let's see what other releases are there. Okay, so you'll see there are 2 releases that are shown here which are red. Okay, if I click on that, you will see that this is the Android release which is off track, and if you click on the details, it will show you that this is off track by about a month. So it will give you a clear indication when the releases are off track and why they are off track and about how much time they are off track, right? So you can basically, once you plan the releases in the advanced roadmap, you can keep an eye on what things are going on or how the issues are progressing and how the work item are progressing, and based on that, whether the release is on track or you need to basically work on or remove certain blockers to make sure that the releases are occurring on the time. If you go to the cross project release, right, so the other one that is happening at the same time, you'll see that this is on 29th October, which is Android release, and then there is a cross project. So if I click on cross project, you will see that this is also starting on 38th, and then it is having these 2 releases, right? So the first release, which is basically this is the one that is off track because this needs to go on 29th October and it is about 1 month off track. But the other one, which is on the 31st of December, is all good and doesn't have sort of any issues. So cross project release basically will help you to align or make sure that you can track all the releases that are there in the project within the cross project release itself. So if I go next here, you'll see that it moves to the next release. Okay, now the next thing is, say for example, I want to align both my releases to one particular date, right? So this is off track, so it makes sense that we push the release date, right? Because if your team doesn't have capacity and you are not able to make the release date, then you'll be aligning it to another month or 15 days. So how you can align the releases to one single date? So if I click on edit the release, right, then here you'll see that this is off track. And sorry, not here, we can basically click on here, you will see that you have this align dates. Okay, so in the cross project release you will get this align dates option, but not in other releases that you created. These are the individual releases, but in the cross project, if we go to the align dates, then you have the option to align them to the fixed date, okay, or as early as possible and relative to previous date. So depending on whichever suits best. Say for example, I'll change both of the releases to December because my team doesn't have the capacity and I'm sure they won't be able to complete the overall issues in the release. So we'll move it. And the release date, so choose a release date that's later than the start date. So basically the start date, we have to, looks like the start date is 30th of September. 30th of September is the start date. Let me align. So let's say start date is 29th, and then we'll change the release date to, okay, so all of the releases have been aligned to the same dates, right? So with just this change in the cross project releases, then all of the releases that have been part of the cross project release have been aligned to the same start date and end date. Okay, if I go to the top level planning now, you will see that this particular icon will now show all of the releases, iOS release, okay, and the other Android release and the cross project release. They are all now aligned to the same date, right? So you'll see this is iOS release, which is on the December, okay, and then the other one, which is basically 3 releases. So this is the one that is basically that we have just aligned. All of the 3 releases are now aligned. This was the previous one, which is release 2, which we haven't planned as of yet in the combined release. Okay, so this is basically brief about how you are going to do the release planning in the Jira Advanced Roadmap and utilize the power of Jira Advanced Roadmap to align the the releases, create the releases out of the project directly within the Jira roadmap. And then you can basically review the changes. And once you save these changes in Jira, so say for example, I'll save the changes, then whatever releases I have created for these projects will be saved into Jira, except the cross project release, which is only for the reference and it's only there within the Jira roadmap. Other releases will be saved in Jira. Okay, so you'll see if I go to the project, say for example, Android app, I should be having that release available here now. So you'll see Android release is available with all the start and end date. This was planned in Jira Advanced Roadmap and is available for that particular project. Teams in Jira Advanced Roadmap. So the core topic of this particular tutorial will be around the teams, how you can add teams, what are different kinds of team that are available in Jira Advanced Roadmap, and how you can configure teams for the planning work within your portfolio. Okay, so for any long-term planning, how you can utilize the team concept and create the team and assign the work accordingly. So let's get started. So let me create a new plan and I'll explain all of the details. So I'll say team demo. I'll keep the access as open, and in the board I'll choose one of the board. Okay, let's create this plan. So now if you see here, to open the teams view, we simply have to go to this drop down, the roadmap views, and open teams, right? So at the moment, if you see, there are no teams that have been added in this plan. Now what exactly are teams? So teams are nothing but just correlate them with the actual teams in your organization, right? So say for example, you have the Android development capability wherein you have hundreds of Android developers, right? So you can have a shared sort of pool of resources and call them as an Android team, wherein you have all the Android capability people part of that team. Or you can even divide or segregate that big team into the small team. Say for example, Android team is divided into multiple 10 different teams. So you can create 10 different teams in the plan. So there is a concept of shared team and the private team. So if you click on add team, you have the option to add an existing shared team. So what shared team is, it is basically a team that is there within the organization and can be shared across the different plans. So whatever plan you are creating in this Jira roadmap, you can use or assign the work to the shared team if the team is shared or team is made as a shared team in Jira roadmap. Okay, a private team is private to this particular plan. So say for example, I am doing this team demo plan, right? And if I create a team which is, say for example, iOS team, and I'll choose the board, choose one of the member. So this team, if you see, this is only this is plan only team. That means this team will be available only for this particular plan. So for the planning purpose, this team is only available for this particular plan. So that's what the plan only team is. But if we have the shared team, then we can basically, so these are some of the shared teams that have been added, that I have added previously. So these shared teams can be reused or used in any of the plans that you make here in the Jira Advanced Roadmap. So say for example, I go to the team demo and I want to utilize the shared team. So I'll go to the team section and here I'll click on add team and I'll say add an existing shared team. And now I can use or add the shared team to this particular plan, right? So you can see Android team is a shared team and can be used in this plan. Now why these teams are made available in the planning? Because any work, any high level work that you do as part of your project goes to the team. People within the team achieve that work. So it is a direct correlation of the actual teams in the planning tool that is provided as part of the Jira roadmap. So you can basically correlate if, say for example, you have a big shared team and that team is an Android team and that team takes all the tasks that need to be taken for the Android application development, then you, as part of the planning within your portfolio, say for example, in your portfolio, there is a need to develop an Android app as well for the work that you are doing. Then you can assign the related work that is Android team, that Android team needs to take and basically assign the work to the Android team, and that will be a shared team. And later that work can be divided within the Android team members when the granular planning starts or the sprint level planning starts. So that's the whole concept, right? And in terms of plan only team, you add the team which is specific to the plan, and you do not have, sort of a shared team in that particular case. Then you can just specify that this is only specific to this plan, for which we'll be assigning the work item for the team which is only working on this plan. Okay, so this is plan only team. So this is how you will add the shared team and the plan team, right? So adding is pretty simple. Click on add team. You can either add an existing shared team or create a private team and then create a team for that plan. Okay, now to add a shared team, you have to basically say, for example, there is another team that I want to add. So click on manage shared team. It will take you to the shared team location where you will have option to create a shared team. If you click on this create team, right? So I'll say shared team and click on create. You will see a shared team got created, right? And if I expand this, I can add the persons in the shared team from here. Okay, so that's how you will create a shared team. Now to delete a shared team, you simply click on this cross and click on delete to delete the shared team from this particular interface. If you have to use this shared team into your plan, you have to go to the plan as I have explained. Go to the teams view after that. So go to this view and add team and select the shared team that you want to add to this particular plan and click on add shared team. Now there is another option which says if you can convert plan only team to a shared team, right? There should be a possibility. Okay, so usually when you click on these ellipses, you will get an option to convert this team, plan only team, to a shared team as well. But there will be a share option that is available, but this option will only be visible once you review the changes, right? So at the moment, say for example, at the moment you won't see that, right? If I review all the changes and save the changes, then in that case, now if you go to this plan only team, you will get this share option. Okay, click on share and then simply click on share, and you'll see now this team is a shared team now. So this iOS team should be part of the shared team. Again, if I go to manage shared teams, I should be having this iOS team. There are two, right? So this one only has one people. This is what we have just shared, made it from plan only to shared team. Okay, let's go back to the plan, go to the team, right? So in order to delete the team from here, from the plan, simply click on the ellipses, click on delete, right? And the team will get deleted. To edit the team, simply click on edit, and you can edit the associated issue source for that team, the team type, whether it's Scrum or Kanban, velocity of the team, and the iteration length and the members. You can edit all of that from this screen and save it. Okay, now what exactly the team is. So say for example, you added all of the teams in the plan and you have planned all your work. So what Jira internally does as part of the review changes, so when I click on this review changes and save the selected changes in Jira, it tags these changes or tags these teams to the Jira issues. Okay, so say for example, if I go to the top level planning, okay, so if I assign a team, right? So let's say for this one, for this portal registration issues, you see this is external team, iOS team. Let me remove it and let's assign a shared team. Okay, so you will see that these two issues, 8 and 9. So one is the task and second one is story. I've assigned a shared team in the plan. Let's review the changes and save the changes in Jira. So what exactly this does is once you review and save the changes in Jira, these teams are added as sort of a tag. You can say a label or a tag to the issues. Okay, so if you go to the filter and go to advanced issue search and search by the shared team. Okay, so say for example, here I say I can search by team. So you'll see that as I start typing team, so team will appear. Just select that and say equal to, and I'll say shared team, right? So click on shared team and search. It will select a number and you will see both 8 and 9 will appear, right? And you will see that team has been tagged to these issues. So that's what happens when you plan your work in the Jira Advanced Roadmap and then save it back, review the changes and save it back. And now the team will be associated to those issues. You can filter those issues and then basically assign these issues now. So you can basically open open and assign these to the relevant people within these teams. So say for example, this is Android related task that needs to go to someone within the Android team. You can now in the sprint planning or the granular planning, you can assign these work items to the member of those teams. Okay, so this is what happens when you save the review and save the changes into Jira. Now if you go to this particular issue details, you won't be having, or the teams field won't appear, right? So in order to have this teams field visible, you have to add that teams field here in the issue details. Okay, so I'll cover that. This is more of a Jira administration task, but not tricky, pretty simple. Let me cover that. So say for example, because we know that this is the custom field, so you need to go to the, so teams is a custom field. So in order to add that teams into the issue view, you need to go to the administration, and you have to be Jira administrator for that. Go to the cogwheel, go to the issues, and go to the custom fields. So in the fields, you will have this custom fields and search for teams. So you'll see that team is there. Okay, and at the moment I added it in one screen, so that is why it is showing as one screen. But in order to add this field into a screen, you have to basically go and associate these two screens. Okay, so I'll say associate to screen, and then select the screens where you want this particular field to be visible. Okay, so at the moment this is Scrum default issue screen where this is visible. I'll uncheck that and let's check all of it. So all of the screens will have it, and click on update. And now if I go to the filter and say for example, what was the, let's search by team, and the team that we added was the shared team for the demo purpose. And now for the issues, so now if I go to this particular story, the teams should be available, right? So this team is now available. This field is here, and you can see the shared team. Whatever team you will select from the Jira Advanced Roadmap plan will be available here. Okay, now this last bit that I have done is the Jira administration. You need Jira administration access to do these changes, to add these fields into the screens. So you have to make sure, if say for example you do not get the option to select the issues and do the configurations, first thing you need to talk to your Jira administrator and ensure that you have the relevant access. Okay. Dependency management in Jira Roadmap. So previously in the Jira basic roadmap, we have understood about the dependency management. Now in advanced roadmap, the concept is exactly similar, but there are some extra features that I'll be covering in this particular tutorial. Now we have also covered about the incoming and outgoing dependency in Jira basic roadmap. Now let's quickly understand what the dependency management capabilities are available and what incoming dependency and outgoing dependency Jira. So in the view, basically in the view settings, you can change the view as per the team or as per the project, right? So either ways, dependency management won't be impacted. So you'll be having the dependency management capability in any of the views. So say for example, at the moment I'm in the team view. So in order to add the dependency, so what we need to do is when we say incoming dependency, it is basically saying that that particular issue is blocking or is blocked by some other issue. An outgoing dependency is, say for example, this task is blocking the story 1. Okay, so to create an outgoing dependency, we'll simply just drag and drop, click on the plus sign and then drag and drop to the other issue for which the dependency is there. So now if I click on this link, you will see the link has been established, the icon. If I click on this link, then you can see this is outgoing dependency, and it is outgoing because this issue or the task blocks the story 1, right? So this is outgoing dependency, and this is one of the ways. Just drag and drop wherever you want to, whichever issue you want to create a dependency on. And you have to ensure that if you're creating an incoming dependency on an issue, so you have to basically drag and drop accordingly. So say for example, here this issue has an incoming dependency, right? So this is dependent on the finish of this particular bug, right? So I'll just click on the plus sign, which is incoming to this particular story IARA5, and then drop on the other issue issue on which this is dependent on. And now you will see, if I click on this, now you'll see that this particular issue is blocked by the defect IARA6. Right. Similarly, if I click on this link, you'll see that it shows incoming dependency, which is blocked by. Outgoing dependency is something which is blocking other issues. Okay. So this is the first way to add the dependency. The other way is you can directly click on this plus sign. Okay. And then you can add the dependency accordingly. Right. So you'll see that it is blocked by, and choose the issue with which it is blocked by, and then click on this tick, and you'll see the dependency has been added. Right. So it has the incoming dependency as well as outgoing dependency both. If you want to add multiple dependencies, click on add dependency, or simply drag and drop the way we have understood. To delete the dependency, simply click on this delete icon, remove dependency, and the dependency will be removed. Okay, so let's create some more dependencies so that there are multiple issues that are dependent. Okay, and let's see the view now. So in the view settings, if I go, you will see that if I click on this show number of dependencies, you will see the number being displayed on each of the issue, and it shows that how many issues are dependent on this particular dependency style. At the moment it is badges. You can change it to lines, and you will see the lines being appearing on the dependency. So these are some of the view changes that you can do on the dependency management. Right. The next important thing is, so this is very easy, just the layout basically to manage the dependencies across the issues, and you have multiple options to add and remove dependencies across. Okay. The next thing is to basically check the dependency report. Right. So here there is a view of dependency management as well. So you can choose that as well, and it will show you the dependency management view. Okay. So whichever issues are dependent on the other issues or incoming and outgoing dependency, that will be displayed here. Or there is a report, dependencies report, that you can look at. Right. So if you click on dependencies report, it will show you what all dependencies are there. So say for example, this task blocks this particular story, and this task also blocks this particular defect, then this is blocking this. So these are some of the dependency details that you can easily visually see on the screen. And any of the red lines that you see, that means this is basically not on track, and it is it's basically minus 14 days, which needs to be addressed and needs to be brought forward so that it is not delaying the work progress of this item. Okay. Similarly in this case, so you'll see if I click on these links, this particular issue blocks this story is blocking this bug. Okay. If I click on this link here, this task blocks this particular bug. Okay. Similarly here you will see all of that report in the dependency report. There are certain roll up or the certain settings that you can do. So roll up to, you can say epic. Right. So if you say roll up to epic, that shows if there is any dependency across the epics. Right. So at the moment there is dependency between the issues within the epic. So that is why there is no issue that is being shown. But say for example, there are two epics which are not directly dependent, okay, on each other, but then there are issues within those epic that are dependent. Okay. So IARA2, let's go back and have some dependency, add some dependency between two of the epic. Right. So this was the epic, and let's, in this one here, let's add a dependency from this issue to an issue which is part of the epic, which is IARA2, and let's go to the dependency report now. Now you will see this link appears, right, which is the dotted link, which shows that there is no direct dependency across these epics, but then there is a story in epic IARA3, which is story 5, which is basically blocking a story in IARA2 epic. Right. So that's what this dotted line will represent. So this is the roll up setting, and you can roll up to any sort of hierarchy. Okay. Then you can group by. So you can group by the team, and you can also, if there are multiple teams, you can group by the team. So at the moment there is just one team, so it is not showing, and it to none. Yeah. So if I change it to none, it will show you the team details. So it is the iOS team, and and all the dependencies. But if there are multiple teams and there is a dependency across the teams, so this view grouping by will help you to see what work item is dependent on the other team. So pretty good and very visually information available, and will help you to rectify the issues if there are dependencies across the team. So let me change it to none, and then you can filter the issues as well. So if you only want to filter the issues, specific issues, then you can just add those filters, this drop down. Okay, to cover some of the very important features that are available within Jira Advanced Roadmap. These are the basic features, but really helpful to align and organize your work on the Jira Advanced Roadmap plan. Okay, so first thing, we have been already looking at many of these features, but I just wanted to combine all of those modifications or the layout modifications that you can do on the plan and how you are going to achieve that. So basically fields, right? Let's start with the fields. To minimize the field, you simply need to click on these columns here. And to maximize, you can just click on the column again and it will maximize that particular field, right? If you completely want to minimize it, just click on this little icon and all the fields will be hidden. Okay, so this will collapse field will hide all of the fields that are there. If you want to remove the fields, say for example, I do not want release to be displayed, you just choose the fields and you delete the release from here. To add the field, simply choose the fields that are available in the drop down here, and then those fields will be added. Okay, to reorganize or basically change the column location, you just simply drag and drop of these fields, and now first will be progress, issue count, and then dependent. So if we go back, you will see the progress, and then you have incoming dependency, outgoing dependency. So dependencies has been added as the columns there. Okay, so this is how you will reorganize the columns. To maximize or basically expand the column, you simply drag and drop like that. Okay, pretty basic stuff, but very helpful. Let's minimize all the fields. The next thing is around, basically if I go to this issue drop down, you will see you can expand all or you can collapse all of that together. To create an issue, you have this create issue. To search for an issue, right, simply click on this search icon there and say for example, I want to search for a particular issue. Okay, so let's say I want to search for all the issues, which is AARA1, and if I hit enter, you will see all of those. You will see you can basically quickly find whichever issues contain AARA-1. Okay, so this is how you will search for the issues. In the filters, you have this hierarchy configuration, so basically from epic to story, and then you can update the filters according to the needs. So say for example, in the teams you want to choose a specific team, you can choose the teams from here. Okay, so a lot of possibilities here. I'm not going to cover each and everything. It is pretty basic stuff, just explaining to show you the navigation, and this position might change in future releases of the Jira Advanced Roadmap. So it might be possible that it is not exactly the same the way that I'm showing you, but overall crux of it will remain same, right? The core feature will remain same. It might be a little bit layout here and there, unless until there is a major change in the layout or the feature in the upcoming or the advanced releases. Okay, if I go to the view settings, then here you have the very important feature, which is color by, which will be really helpful, right? So I can color code the layout on the timeline, right? So say for example, you have different options here. So you can either choose none for the color coding, or you can color code by any of the things, right? Either team or status or project. You can specify the color code, and the issues within that particular project will be color coded with that specific color. Okay, the project color. Now if I go ahead and select the issue type, right, so this color coding will help us to identify what issue type is displayed on the timeline, right? So I can specify a color. So say for example, I want to color code all my defects to red. Okay, so just choose the color red and then select bug. Okay, and now you will see anything which is shown as red on the timeline, you know that this is a defect, right? Similarly, I want all my user stories to be green, right? So we are just using the same color coding as is mentioned in the Jira for these issues. Similarly, we'll have a purple for epic. For the subtask, we'll have blue, light blue, and for the task, we'll have the blue color. Okay, so this color coding will help you to basically identify on the timeline which issue is what? So now you know that this is basically the epic, right? And these are the stories. So you can easily identify by the timeline what issue type that particular time or the timeline belongs to. Okay, so that's about the color coding, and you can play around with different color coding combinations here. To clear all the colors, I'll simply click on clear all the colors, and all the colors will be gone. So it will be just one color for all of the issues on this particular plan. You can sort by different options there, right? We have already seen about the team sorting and discussed a lot of things about that. You can group by the release or the team, which is also possible, which I have already seen. We have seen about the show capacity on the timeline, right? So that is when you choose the teams, and then dependency style is whether badges or lines. So if, say for example, I choose the lines, you will see these dependency style is lines, and if you choose badges, it will be these icons that are shown on the timeline. Okay, then you can roll up the dates and all other things. So say for example, you have the dates defined in all of the subtasks or the issues that are below the epic. All of that will roll up, and the roll up of the dates and everything will be rolled up to the parent item there. Okay, so that's what the roll up is, and you can roll up other things like sprint releases, etc. as well. Okay, so this is around the view setting. Now moving to the view, right? So these are the views that are available there. Okay, so to manage the views, you can go to the manage views. Okay, and you will see these are the saved views. If you want to change the default view to something else, you can select that and delete the saved views from here as well. Okay, let's go back to the plan, and say for example, here I change something in this plan and I want this as a new view. Okay, so say for example, I just change it here, or I change the color coding. Say for example, let's change the color, and I'll add the color coding for the stories as green, and I want to save this as a new view. So I'll simply click on, if you'll click on the save this view, it will basically save in this top level planning, whichever is selected there. Okay, to save a new view, click on this drop down, click on save as new view, and provide the name. Okay, so I'll say color coded. All right, and save it. So now you will see the new view is saved. Okay, so whatever changes you are doing here, now if you keep saving it, it will be saved into the color coded view and not override any of the existing. If you go to manage views, you will see color coded view is there, and this has been created by myself, and it will give you all of the details. Okay, so this is around the views. Do not directly press save this view. It will override whatever is selected as a view there. Okay, so this is about the saving the view. You can discard the changes, or you can delete the view directly from here. So this will get deleted. Okay, so this is a brief about some of the field addition around the search, creating the issue, expanding and collapsing all the issues, some of the details around saving the views, around the filters. So in the filters, how you can work with the filters, and these all are very simple features but very powerful and good to know when you are basically working as a portfolio lead and doing the planning in the Jira Advanced Roadmap. Warning section in Jira Advanced Roadmap, and how you can utilize the warnings that are displayed in the Jira Advanced Roadmap to rectify the issues within your plan. Now, warnings is the very important feature and will help you a lot when you are doing the portfolio level planning or the long-term planning, because it will easily identify based on the certain rules and the input that you provide into your issues, and provide a very clear picture of the issues that might happen during your planning. Okay, so say for example, if you see this here at the top, there is a warning tab here, the button. If you click on that, you can show the warning or you can disable warning altogether. So it is advisable that you always have this turned on, because then it will auto detect the issues, the common issues that can happen in the plan. Say for example, here in this case, there are certain rules, right? Issue start date or end date set beyond the due date, right? So if there is something that is being done like this in your plan or in your issues, then it will identify those issues and it will list those issues here as far as these toggles are enabled. Okay, and this show warning is enabled. If I'll disable that, it will stop showing any of the warnings. Okay, the next important thing is you can filter whatever issues are being affected by any of these rules by just pressing this toggle, filter issues with warning, and it will show you how many issues are being affected with any of these rules. Okay, so here, say for example, issue dates outside of the assigned sprint. sprint, right? So this clearly shows that I have assigned the sprint to certain issues, right? So there are 2 affected issues, as well as I have done some planning for those issues, or I have modified the dates for those issues which are not within the assigned sprint range, right? So say for example, issue dates outside of the assigned sprint. So if we check these AARA 2 and 3 here, right, there is an sprint that is assigned, which is IARA sprint 1 for both the issues. But then it might be possible that somebody, or while planning, I would have moved it outside of the sprint. Okay, the duration is not within the sprint. So if that's the case, that's where it will detect automatically, and then you can go ahead and fix these issues. Either you remove the sprint, okay, in that case, and that will be resolved, or you go ahead and make sure that the timeline of these issues fall within the sprint. Okay, so basically you have to do either ways. You have to either remove the start and end date, or you have to use the sprint. Okay, not both, because then it will cause, I mean, you can use both, but it has to be within the sprint range. So say for example, sprint is of 2 weeks. Okay, then in that case, let's move this here. Okay, so we get here, we'll see issue. So you'll see issue. Now this is having 2 issues, issue dates outside of the assigned sprints. So in this case, I have to have it within the sprint, right? And then it has this start and end date as well. Okay, so you can have both, but you have to make sure that the duration for the issues is within the sprint. Okay, so here now if I hover over this warning, now the only warning is that this issue is starting before the parent. Okay, and these are the child issues. Okay, so they can't basically start before the parent, right? So because parent is the root level issue, and once any issue started within the parent, that means the parent or the work item on the parent item started, right? So you either adjust the parent date, okay, so that there is a start date of the parent that aligns with the issues, and now you will see there are no issues that are being affected with any of the misalignments. Okay, so this is how you will work with the warnings and ensure, let me remove this filter, okay, and ensure that all of the plan that you are doing is basically in terms of timeline. When you are assigning the sprint and the start date and end date, it is basically aligning with the sprint start and end date, and the values that you are putting in the start and end date of the issues, it is basically aligning within the sprint, or it is not starting before the parent, or it is not ending after the parent. So there are many rules. If you go here, it has to be issue dates outside of the assigned sprint, unresolved issues after inferred end date. So many rules are there which will help you to identify the issues during your planning and help you to rectify all of those. Okay, so that's basically all about the warnings and how you can utilize warnings in Jira Advanced Roadmap to rectify common planning issues that happen very frequently. Review changes, right? So as I have already explained in previous couple of tutorials, that unless and until you basically review the changes and save it back to Jira, any changes that you do here on the plan are local to the plan. Okay, so anything, say for example, I have changed the timeline or dates and anything, it is not yet saved to the Jira. So say for example, here I have updated the date, the start date and end date for this particular issue. This is still specific to this plan. In order to update this, I have to go to the review changes, and then we will discuss what all options are there in the review changes. Now, any changes that you are doing here, right? So say for example, I updated the details here. You will see that the updates are being counted, and you have to go ahead and see the changes that you have done on this plan. So if I click on this review changes, it will list all the changes that have been done. Now on this particular screen, you have the filter, so you can select who has done the changes. So by default it is all, but you can select the users. You can just start typing in the users and select the users for whom you want to search for the changes. Okay, I'll keep it as all, and you will see by default all of the items that have been updated are selected, and then from here you can see what all has changed, right? So what exactly has changed? So due date and start date has changed for this particular issue, and similarly for this one, the same thing. So all of the details will be recorded, and it will also show you when exactly those details were modified. Okay, Along with that, you will see the warnings displayed here as well. You will see that this issue has been removed from active sprint. So any of the warning that is still there in the plan will be displayed in the review changes. Okay. Now, if you are happy with all of the changes that are done, okay, in the plan, after reviewing here, when you click on save selected changes in Jira, only then these changes that have been done here. So say for example, this due date is 18th October and start date is 28th of September for this particular task, this will get saved back into this particular issue. So if I open this issue now, the due date and start date will be something different. So if you see this particular task here, okay, so at the moment the start date is none, okay, and due date is none as well. Okay, let me move this side. You'll see the due date is none as well. Okay, so that means whatever we have changed in this particular plan is not yet saved. These fields are not yet saved. So as soon as we will save these changes in Jira, the due date and start date should be the same that is displayed here. So 18th of October and 28th of September 21. Okay. If you do not want to save these changes to Jira, you can click on discard selected changes and you can deselect some of the changes. Say for example, I do not want to save this change to Jira. So you can deselect that and then save the rest. Okay. Cancel will just cancel it and it will not discard the changes. Okay. So it will just close this window. So if I review these changes again, now let's see when I save this changes in Jira and refresh this particular issue, you'll see it is saving and now none of the changes are remaining to be reviewed. Now if I refresh this task again, it should have start and due date being populated now. So you'll see the start date is there, okay, and the due date is also being populated there. So this is basically what happens when you review the changes and save it to Jira. Otherwise, any changes that you are doing here in the plan will remain in the plan and won't be saved back unless you go ahead and review these and save it back to Jira. Right, it clearly says. So many times it might be a possibility that you might wonder why things are not happening or why, Jira is not reflecting the overall saved details, right? By default, it is saved in the plan, but not goes back into Jira unless we do this save selected changes in Jira, which is very clear, right? There's nothing too fancy or too technical about these things, but these are simple things which I wanted to cover just in case you are very new to the planning feature of this Jira Advanced Roadmap. It will give you a fair bit of idea, go through what all features are there and how you can navigate and use them. Okay. How you can share the roadmap or the plan that you make within Jira Roadmap across different platform, and what are the possibilities when you want to share the plan with the team or with the wider audience that needs to have the most updated plan that you prepare here at the portfolio level, okay, or for the long-term planning. So to share the plan, it is very similar to what we have learned in the Jira basic roadmap. Now in the advanced roadmap, you have this share as, which is very obvious, and I'll discuss some of the plans or the share options that are available. Okay, so you can share the plan as link. So you can create a spreadsheet from a plan that can be opened with programs like Excel. Okay, so you can export to CSV. So let's start with the link. So first one is sharing as a link. So I can copy this link, okay, and anyone with this link who has the access to this plan, anyone with access to this plan will be able to view this plan with this link. Now apart from this, you can embed this plan. So it will give you the iframe code, so basic HTML code that you can use to basically you can copy and then embed it into any of the web page. All right, so this is again, anyone who has access to this plan will be able to view it, and it's read only. Third one, which is very good option, which is basically you can share it within Confluence. So you have this Confluence macro, which is basically advanced roadmap for Jira macro that is available within Confluence, and I can just generate the link, okay, and then we can simply copy the link and then use the macro to insert insert this plan within the Confluence. Alright, so say for example, in this case, let me quickly cancel this and then go to the Confluence, right? So we have the Confluence instance as well. Let's embed this into the Confluence. So let's say this is the project, right? And I'll open any of the page just to show the plan here. Skip, let's edit the page. Now there is a macro, right? So simply click on this drop down here, or on the page itself, just press / and start typing roadmap. Okay, so you'll see the advanced roadmaps for Jira plan. Click that and we'll paste the URL that we have copied there. Okay, simply click on preview and it will show you the preview of the plan that is being created, right? So you'll see that this plan is now visible here. Okay, you can adjust the height to whatever pixels you want, right? And you can provide the custom height as well. I would recommend just choosing one of these three. You can click on, show legend, and then you can simply insert, right? So there is an insert button here. Click on insert and the plan will get inserted into Confluence, right? You will see the plan here. Once you are happy that this plan looks good, you can publish, and this plan will be available on Confluence for reference of anybody within the team. Okay, so you'll see now I have this plan available in Confluence. Okay, so this is third way. All right, now let's go back Jira and go to plans, and the last option is the CSV, right? So this is we have this Confluence we have already understood, and we have seen the demo for that as well. Now the last option is CSV export. So you can create a spreadsheet from your plan, okay, and then we can open it in the Excel and see how the plan looks like, right? So we can also export it into the CSV, then view it into the Excel sheet and see what all issues are there, what all epics, work items are there, the dates, etc. That will be available into the Excel file as well. Okay, so these are some of the share options that are available, and you can easily share among the team. Okay, so basically the Confluence embedding, or sharing the link, or embedding it within any of the website, HTML page, Confluence, or sharing as an CSV export file. Okay, so these are some of the ways that you can basically use to share the plan among your team members and across the wider. So that's all for this tutorial. I hope this was helpful. Thank you very much for watching.